Welcome to Future Slumber. I am so glad you have found your way here tonight. Take a slow, deep breath in and let it out gently. Feel the weight of the day beginning to lift from your shoulders. You have done enough for today, and now it is time to rest. As you settle into your comfortable space, adjusting your pillows and pulling the warm blankets up around you, know that there is nowhere else you need to be right now. There is nothing else you need to do. Just allow yourself to sink into the softness beneath you. If you would like to return to this peaceful space each night without having to search for it, simply remember to subscribe to the channel. It is a small, easy way to ensure your quiet retreat is always waiting for you when evening falls. But for now, just let your eyes grow heavy. You do not need to stay awake to listen. You can drift off at any moment, whenever sleep calls to you, and you will not miss anything important. The story will simply carry you safely into your dreams. Tonight, you are stepping into a very quiet, very safe place. It is a late evening in the middle of the 20th century, perhaps the late 1950s or early 1960s. You are standing in the softly lit corridor of an atmospheric observation station, nestled deep within a quiet mountain range in the American Northwest. The walls around you are thick, solid concrete, painted a pale, soothing gray. They were built to insulate, to protect, and to ensure absolute stillness. You can feel the safety of this place in the very air. It feels incredibly grounded, anchoring you to the earth. The corridor is lined with small, frosted glass fixtures along the ceiling, casting gentle pools of warm, yellowish light onto the polished linoleum floor. The floor is immaculately clean, reflecting the soft lights in a blurry, hazy rhythm as you walk slowly down the hall. The air down here is cool, crisp, and climate-controlled, carrying a faint, nostalgic scent of warm electronics, old paper, and the subtle, clean smell of ozone. It is a quiet, industrious smell, the scent of quiet observation. Your footsteps make a soft, rhythmic tapping sound, muffled by the heavy acoustic tiles on the ceiling. Each step you take seems to echo slightly, a gentle reminder of the vast, peaceful emptiness of the facility. You are the night observer. Your only task tonight is to watch, to monitor the quiet atmospheric data, and to enjoy the profound solitude of the night shift. You reach the end of the hallway where a heavy, solid oak door waits for you. The brass handle is cool and smooth to the touch, worn soft by years of quiet hands opening it night after night. You turn the handle. The mechanism clicks softly, a deeply satisfying mechanical sound, and you push the door open. You step into the main observation room, and you are immediately wrapped in a cocoon of low, amber light and gentle, rhythmic sounds. The room is spacious but feels intimately cozy. The main lights are turned off, allowing the gentle glow of the instrument panels to softly illuminate the space. Banks of large, sturdy metal consoles stretch out before you, painted in muted tones of olive green and soft gray. The consoles are alive with tiny, glowing lights. Soft amber, pale green, and warm white bulbs blink in a slow, hypnotic rhythm, like a field of electronic fireflies breathing in the dark. In the center of the room, tall mainframe cabinets stand like quiet sentinels. Behind glass panels, large reels of magnetic tape spin slowly. They turn with a soft, steady whir, a shushing sound that rises and falls like the gentle lapping of small waves against a wooden dock. It is a deeply soothing, repetitive sound, the heartbeat of the station. You walk over to the main console, situated in front of a massive, heavily reinforced observation window. The window looks out into the deep, dark night of the mountains. The glass is thick, perfectly clear, and cool to the touch. Outside, the world is asleep. A thick blanket of untouched snow covers the gentle slopes and the dark, towering pine trees. The sky above is a vast ocean of deep indigo, completely clear and filled with countless brilliant stars. They twinkle slowly, silently, utterly detached from the world below. You take a moment to just stand there, looking out into the peaceful darkness, feeling the absolute stillness of the winter night seep into your bones. The thick glass completely blocks out the sound of the wind, leaving you in perfect, insulated silence, save for the gentle hum of the machines around you. You pull out the heavy, padded leather chair stationed in front of the console. The leather is worn, cracked in places, and incredibly soft. As you sit down, the chair sighs slightly, wrapping around you, cradling you in its familiar contours. It feels like an old friend welcoming you back. On the desk in front of you, next to a neat stack of pale yellow logbooks, sits a heavy ceramic mug. You wrap your hands around it. It is perfectly warm. The heat radiates through your palms, relaxing the small muscles in your hands and wrists. You lift the mug and take a slow sip. It is a rich, dark coffee, mild and slightly sweet, with a comforting warmth that travels slowly down your chest, settling in your stomach. You set the mug down gently on a cork coaster. The soft clink of the ceramic against the cork is a small, grounded sound in the quiet room. You lean back in the chair and let your eyes sweep across the main instrument panel. There are rows of large, analog dials with thick glass faces. The needles inside the dials quiver ever so slightly, measuring the quiet, steady flow of the atmosphere above. The barometric pressure, the temperature, the wind speed, all of it completely normal, completely calm. The needles move with a slow, fluid grace. Below the dials are banks of sturdy, toggle switches. They are solid, satisfying switches, each one labeled with neat engraved plastic tags. You reach out and gently flip one of the switches to adjust the illumination of your desk lamp. The switch moves with a soft, heavy click, and the small lamp beside you brightens just a fraction, casting a warm, golden circle of light across the open pages of your logbook. The paper is thick, off-white with pale blue lines. You pick up a heavy, silver pen and uncap it, the metal feeling cool against your fingers. You write down the current time and the initial readings in neat, slow cursive. The scratching of the nib against the thick paper is a rhythmic, textured sound. Scratch, scratch, pause, scratch, scratch, pause. The sound is incredibly focusing, drawing your attention down to the small, immediate space illuminated by your lamp. As you write, you notice the gentle sweep of the radar screen set into the console. The screen glows a soft, luminous green. A brighter line of green light sweeps around in a continuous, endless circle, like the second hand of a very slow clock. With each rotation, it paints a faint, ghostly image of the mountains around you, a topography of pure light. There is nothing else on the screen. No movement, no disturbances. Just the quiet, sleeping earth, bathed in the soft green sweep of the radar. You watch the line go around once, twice, 3 times. The continuous, sweeping motion is hypnotic, pulling your thoughts into its slow, circular rhythm. The air in the room is gently circulating, kept fresh by large, silent vents near the ceiling. You can feel a very faint, cool breeze brush against your cheek, just enough to keep the room from feeling stuffy. You take another slow sip of your coffee, letting the warmth settle into you again. You turn your attention to a large, intricate piece of equipment to your right. It is a weather simulation module designed to predict the flow of air currents. It is a beautiful piece of mid-century engineering, housed in a polished wooden cabinet with a brushed aluminum faceplate. A large, softly lit screen displays a map of the continent, with gently curving lines flowing slowly across it, representing the wind. The lines move like slow rivers, curving and swirling in lazy, elegant patterns. They shift from pale blue to soft lavender to warm amber, representing slight changes in temperature. You watch the colors slowly blend and shift, a gentle, abstract painting of the air itself. There is no rush here. The data comes in slowly, calmly. You reach out and turn a large, textured dial on the weather module. The dial offers a smooth, satisfying resistance, moving with a heavy, oiled precision. As you turn it, the display on the screen shifts slightly, zooming in on the slow, lazy swirl of a high-pressure system hovering over the plains. You watch the gentle, clockwise rotation of the lines. It is incredibly soothing to watch these massive forces of nature rendered as quiet, slow-moving lights on a screen. You feel a deep sense of detachment, of sitting in a quiet, safe harbor while watching the gentle tides of the sky far above. The steady hum of the mainframe cabinets in the center of the room continues its soft, rhythmic breathing. It is a sound you barely notice after a while, but if it were to stop, you would miss its comforting presence. It is the sound of everything working perfectly, of systems quietly doing exactly what they were designed to do. You pick up your pen again and make another small note in the logbook. The scratching sound mixes with the soft hum, the gentle whir of the tape reels, and the faint, rhythmic ticking of a large analog clock on the wall above the window. You look up at the clock. It has a round, white face with simple black numbers and a red second hand that moves in a smooth, continuous sweep, rather than a jarring tick. It silently marks the passage of the quiet night. It is nearly midnight. The absolute quietest part of the night. You close the logbook gently, the heavy cover making a soft thump as it settles against the pages. You place the pen perfectly parallel to the top of the book. Everything is neat, ordered, and entirely under control. You lean forward slightly, resting your elbows on the smooth, cool edge of the metal desk, and look out the observation window again. The moon has begun to rise over the distant peaks, a pale, glowing sliver that casts long, soft shadows across the unbroken snow. The snow seems to glow faintly in the moonlight, a field of soft, white velvet stretching out into the dark. You can see the dark shapes of the pine trees, heavily laden with snow, standing perfectly still. There is no wind outside. The world is holding its breath in a deep, peaceful slumber. You let out a long, slow sigh, feeling the tension drain out of your chest. You are completely alone, completely safe, and completely at peace. The quiet observation room is a small, warm capsule suspended in the vast, sleeping wilderness. You slowly reach out and dim the desk lamp, turning the small brass knob until the light fades to a very soft, warm ember. The amber and green lights of the console seem to grow a little brighter in the dimness, their slow blinking rhythm becoming even more pronounced. You close your eyes for a moment just listening to the room, the deep, low hum, the gentle shhh of the spinning tapes, the sweeping sound of the radar arm. It sounds like the slow breathing of a very large, very gentle creature. You let your own breathing fall into sync with the rhythm of the room. Inhale as the tape reels spin forward. Exhale as the radar arm makes its sweep. Inhale, exhale, slow, deep, and steady. The leather chair cradles you. The thick concrete walls protect you. The quiet night surrounds you. When you open your eyes again, you feel a heavy, comfortable drowsiness settling over you, the kind of drowsiness that feels earned and welcomed. You look back at the dials on the main panel. The barometric pressure is holding steady. The temperature outside remains a cold, crisp constant. Inside, it is perfectly warm. You slowly push the chair back. The heavy casters roll smoothly over the linoleum floor with a soft, muted rumble. You stand up, your legs feeling a little heavy, wonderfully relaxed. You decide to take a slow walk around the room, just to stretch and to check the outer instrument banks. You move with a slow, deliberate grace, savoring the absolute quiet of your own movements. You walk past the spinning tape reels, feeling a very faint, warm draft of air coming from the vents on the side of the metal cabinets. You reach out and lightly run your fingertips along the smooth, painted metal surface. It vibrates ever so slightly, a tiny, high-frequency hum that feels like a gentle massage against your skin. You move to the far side of the room, where a large, floor-to-ceiling map is mounted on the wall behind a sheet of protective glass. The map is an old, beautifully detailed topographical chart of the entire region. It is colored in soft earth tones, pale greens, faded yellows, and deep, quiet browns. You trace the contour lines with your eyes, following the ridges and valleys of the mountains that surround you. You find the small, red circle that marks the location of this very station, nestled deep in a protective valley. It is comforting to see your exact place in the world, a tiny, secure dot in the middle of so much quiet wilderness. You stand there for a long time, just looking at the map, letting your mind wander over the silent, snowy peaks and the deep, dark valleys. You imagine the ancient trees, the undisturbed snow, the quiet animals sleeping in their burrows. You feel profoundly connected to the stillness of the natural world outside, even as you stand in this room of warm electronics and glowing screens. Turning back toward the center of the room, you notice a small, secondary radar screen tucked into a corner console. This one is older, with a smaller, circular hood surrounding the display to block out the ambient light. You walk over and lean in, resting your hands on the edge of the console. The screen is a very deep, dark green, almost black. The sweeping arm of light is a pale, mossy green. As it turns, it reveals nothing but the static return of the immediate mountainside. It is a completely blank canvas, a quiet void. You watch it spin for a long, long time. The repetitive motion is incredibly soothing. Your eyelids begin to feel very heavy. The ambient light of the room seems to soften, the edges of the metal cabinets blurring slightly as your focus relaxes. You slowly walk back to your leather chair. The chair seems to welcome you back, the worn leather cool against your hands before you settle into it. You sit down, leaning your head back against the tall, padded headrest. You reach for your coffee mug but decide against it. You don't need the warmth anymore. You are perfectly comfortable. Instead, you fold your hands gently in your lap. You let your gaze drift aimlessly across the main console. You are not really looking at the dials or the lights anymore, just letting the soft colors wash over you. The amber, the green, the pale white. They bleed together in your relaxed vision, a gentle, glowing mosaic. The sound of the tape reels spinning behind you continues its steady, rhythmic shushing. SHHH, SHHH, SHHH. It sounds like the wind blowing through dry leaves or the very distant sound of the ocean. You reach out and rest your hand on the heavy metal surface of the desk. It is cool and solid. It grounds you. You can feel the very faint vibration of the entire facility humming through the metal, traveling up through your fingertips and into your arms. It is a soothing, continuous vibration, a deep, resonant tone that seems to vibrate at the exact frequency of relaxation. You take another slow, deep breath, filling your lungs with the clean, cool air, and then let it out in a long, slow sigh. You watch the slow, sweeping hand of the wall clock. It glides silently around the dial, unhurried, marking the quiet passage of a night where absolutely nothing is expected to happen. You are simply a witness to the profound peace of the early morning hours. You close your eyes again, fully this time. The soft afterimage of the glowing lights remains in your vision for a moment, slowly fading into a warm, comfortable darkness. You can still hear the room perfectly. The soft, rhythmic tap of a distant relay switching over, the gentle whoosh of the air circulation, the endless, sweeping sound of the spinning tape reels. You sink deeper into the leather chair, feeling your muscles uncoil, releasing the last bits of tension you didn't even know you were holding. Your shoulders drop, your jaw relaxes, the space between your eyebrows smooths out. You are enveloped in the absolute safety and heavy, comfortable quiet of the observation station. The thick concrete walls hold the sleeping world at bay, leaving you in a perfect, insulated bubble of calm. You open your eyes halfway, just enough to see the gentle swirl of the weather patterns on the large simulation screen. The pale blue and soft lavender lines continue their slow, endless dance, swirling and curling in mesmerizing patterns across the dark background. It is like watching a slow-motion river of colored smoke. Your mind drifts along with the lines, following their lazy curves, unbothered by thoughts of tomorrow or memories of yesterday. There is only the slow, quiet present moment. The soft glow of the amber lights, the cool surface of the desk, the warmth of the heavy chair. You reach out a heavy hand and turn the dial on the desk lamp one more time, clicking it completely off. The room instantly feels softer, deeper. The ambient light from the instrument panels now paints the walls and ceiling in faint, shifting hues of green and gold. The shadows in the corners stretch out, long and soft, creating a profound sense of cozy enclosure. You look back out the large observation window. The moon has climbed a little higher, casting a brighter, cooler light over the snow. You can see the faint, sparkling reflection of the moonlight on the frozen surface of the snowpack. It is breathtakingly beautiful in its absolute stillness. You feel a deep, abiding sense of gratitude for this quiet moment, for the safety of this room, for the peaceful rhythm of the machines. Your breathing becomes even slower, even shallower. You are drifting now, suspended in the gentle hum of the station. The sound of the radar arm sweeping across its screen seems to grow a little louder, a soft, electronic whisper that washes over you in continuous waves. Sweep, sweep, sweep. It clears away any lingering thoughts, leaving your mind completely empty, like the blank, snowy canvas outside the window. You rest your head back against the leather, the cool material slowly warming to the temperature of your skin. You feel your heartbeat slowing down, matching the slow, steady rhythm of the blinking indicator lights on the console in front of you. Everything in this room is designed to monitor, to watch, to wait. And tonight, there is nothing to find but peace. You let your hands rest completely still. You feel the heavy, comfortable weight of your own body settling deeply into the chair. You feel as though you could sit here forever, suspended in this perfect amber-lit moment, watching the slow turning of the earth through the gentle sweep of the instruments. The air is so quiet, so perfectly still, that you can almost hear the snow settling outside. You slowly turn your head to the side, looking at the large, heavy door you came through earlier. It is closed tight, sealing you inside this sanctuary of calm. You are completely protected from the world. The soft, rhythmic clicking of a data printer begins in the far corner of the room. It is a slow, methodical sound. Clack, clack, clack. It is printing out the hourly atmospheric readings on a continuous fold of pale green paper. You don't need to get up to read it. You know what it says. It says the air is calm. It says the pressure is stable. It says the night is quiet. You just listen to the sound of the keys striking the paper, a comforting, industrial lullaby. It reminds you of the quiet, purposeful nature of this place. Even as you rest, the gentle machinery of observation continues its slow, careful work, ensuring that the peacefulness of the night is carefully recorded and filed away. You let out another slow breath, your chest rising and falling with a heavy, relaxed rhythm. You turn your gaze back to the main console, letting your eyes fall out of focus again. The tiny lights blur into soft, glowing orbs, the amber, the green, the warm white. They seem to float in the dark space of the room, a gentle constellation of safe, controlled energy. You feel a profound sense of isolation, but it is a wonderful, comforting isolation. You are untethered from the demands of the world, adrift in a quiet sea of warm light and soft sounds. The tape reels continue to spin, their hushed shushing sound a constant, reassuring presence in the background. You bring your hands together, lightly interlacing your fingers, resting them gently on your stomach. You can feel the slow, steady rise and fall of your breathing. It is the only movement you are making. The rest of your body is completely still, heavy, and relaxed. You feel the gentle hum of the floor through the soles of your shoes. It is a subtle vibration, a quiet reminder of the massive, hidden power of the station, power that is being used entirely to maintain this perfect, peaceful equilibrium. You slowly let your chin drop slightly toward your chest, feeling the back of your neck stretch and relax. The large weather simulation screen catches your eye one last time. The gentle lines of air current have shifted into a massive, slow-moving circle over the center of the continent. It is a perfect, lazy eddy of high-pressure air, bringing clear skies and absolute stillness to the land below. You watch the slow rotation of the lines, feeling your own mind rotating with them, slowly spiraling down into a deep, quiet space of rest. The colors on the screen shift from lavender to a deep, sleep-inducing indigo, matching the color of the night sky outside the heavy window. You are surrounded by deep, restful colors. The amber of the consoles, the green of the radar, the indigo of the night. You feel a wave of deep, heavy sleepiness wash over you, starting from the top of your head and moving slowly down your body, relaxing every muscle it touches. Your arms feel heavy and warm. Your legs are deeply relaxed. Your eyelids flutter softly, the effort of keeping them open becoming too much. You let them close, surrendering to the warm, comfortable darkness behind your eyes. The sounds of the room remain, a gentle, continuous soundtrack to your drifting thoughts. The soft hum, the sweeping radar, the shushing tape reels, the slow, methodical clack of the data printer. They all blend together into a single, cohesive sound of pure, unadulterated peace. You take one final, deep breath, holding it for just a moment, and then release it in a long, slow sigh that seems to carry away the very last remnants of your waking awareness. You are floating now, suspended in the quiet atmosphere of the observation room, adrift on the gentle currents of sound and soft vibration. The thick concrete walls hold you. The heavy leather chair cradles you. The quiet night watches over you. You are completely, perfectly safe. And as the slow, sweeping rhythm of the machines continues, you allow yourself to sink deeper and deeper into the heavy, welcoming quiet. The darkness behind your closed eyelids is a soft, comforting canvas, painted in the deepest, richest shades of indigo and warm gray. It is not an empty darkness, but a heavy, sheltering presence that seems to wrap around you like a thick woolen blanket. The gentle hum of the observation station becomes the soundtrack of your rest. You can hear the low, resonant thrum of the generators buried deep beneath the concrete floor, a sound you feel more in your chest than you hear with your ears. It is a steady, unwavering vibration, a mechanical heartbeat that promises warmth and light no matter how cold or dark the world outside might become. You focus on that vibration for a few long, slow moments, letting your own heartbeat synchronize with its endless, rhythmic pulse. Slowly, you open your eyes just a fraction, allowing a tiny sliver of the room's amber light to filter back in. The instrument panels are right where you left them, faithfully keeping watch. The small, glowing dials seem softer now, their edges blurred by the heavy weight of your eyelids. You watch a single needle on the barometric pressure gauge quiver ever so slightly, moving perhaps a fraction of a millimeter before settling perfectly still once again. It is a tiny, inconsequential movement, completely devoid of urgency, simply a quiet testament to the ever-present, invisible ocean of air that blankets the earth. You watch it with a quiet fascination, your mind unburdened by the need to analyze or understand. You are just observing, just letting the gentle flow of data wash over you. You decide to shift your weight slightly in the heavy leather chair. The old springs beneath you creak with a soft, familiar sigh, a deeply domestic sound in this room of cold metal and glass. You stretch your legs out beneath the heavy steel desk, your feet finding the warm stream of air gently blowing from a small, discreet vent near the floorboard. The heat seeps into the soles of your shoes, traveling slowly up your ankles and into your calves, melting away any lingering chill from the snowy night outside. You let your feet rest there, feeling utterly grounded and secure. The air in the room smells faintly of ozone from the warm electronics, mingled with the dry, papery scent of the logbooks and a subtle, dusty sweetness that seems to belong entirely to old, well-maintained machinery. With a slow, deliberate movement, you push yourself up from the chair. There is no rush, no sudden need to be anywhere. You stand in the center of the room, feeling the profound emptiness of the station stretching out around you. It is a comforting emptiness, a vast buffer of quiet space between you and the rest of the sleeping world. You begin to walk slowly toward the back of the room, your footsteps falling in a measured, rhythmic cadence. Heel, toe, heel, toe. The polished linoleum floor reflects the dim overhead lights in long, hazy streaks of pale gold. You pass by a row of tall, gray filing cabinets, their heavy metal drawers closed tight, holding years and years of quiet, meticulous records. You reach out and let your fingertips glide lightly along the cold, painted steel as you walk, feeling the slight texture of the paint beneath your skin. At the far end of the observation room, there is a narrow doorway leading into a small, secondary storage and supply alcove. You step through the threshold, leaving the glowing amber instruments behind for a moment. This space is lit only by a single, low-wattage bulb enclosed in a frosted glass dome on the ceiling, casting a warm, sepia-toned light over the neatly organized shelves. The walls here are lined with heavy wooden shelving units, packed with pristine boxes of chart paper, spare vacuum tubes resting safely in their cardboard sleeves, and rows of thick blank logbooks waiting for future nights. Everything is in its proper place. Everything is ordered, predictable, and calm. You take a slow, deep breath of the air in here. It smells strongly of fresh paper, binding glue, and clean dust. You stand before a shelf of spare vacuum tubes, marveling at the delicate glass architecture inside the small, protective boxes. You slide one box out, feeling the lightweight cardboard between your fingers. You open the flap gently and look at the intricate filaments inside the glass bulb, a tiny universe of wire and metal designed to safely channel electricity. It is a beautiful, fragile thing, yet it belongs to a system so vast and robust that it can quietly monitor the sky without ever faltering. You slide the box back into its perfect slot on the shelf, feeling a small, deeply satisfying click as it aligns with the others. The orderliness of the room is a balm to your mind, a visual representation of the control and safety that permeates the entire facility. Turning back toward the main room, you pause by a small, high window set deep into the thick concrete wall of the alcove. This window faces a different direction, looking out toward the jagged tree line of the surrounding forest. The glass is cold as you lean your forehead against it, a sharp, refreshing contrast to the warm air inside. The snow out here is undisturbed, an endless expanse of pale, blue-white powder glowing softly under the moonlight. The tall pine trees cast long, stretching shadows across the drifts, their branches heavy and bowed under the weight of the snow. Nothing is moving. The wind has completely died down, leaving the forest frozen in a perfect, silent tableau. You watch a single, tiny snowflake detach from a high branch and drift slowly, lazily downward, taking its time to join the soft blanket below. You step away from the window and walk back out into the main observation room. The space feels even warmer and more inviting after the cool darkness of the alcove. The mainframe cabinets are still humming their low, steady tune. The tape reels are still spinning with their rhythmic shushing sound. You walk slowly back to the main console, trailing your hand along the smooth edge of the desk. You notice a small, brass-rimmed magnifying glass resting next to your logbook. You pick it up, feeling the solid, pleasing weight of the metal handle. You hold it over the open page of the logbook, watching the neat blue lines and your own careful handwriting swell and distort through the thick, curved glass. The letters become soft and sweeping, losing their meaning and becoming nothing more than gentle, looping shapes of dark ink on pale paper. You set the magnifying glass down with a soft clink and sink back into your leather chair. The chair welcomes you, molding perfectly to the shape of your body. You rest your arms on the armrests, your hands dangling loosely over the ends. You look up at the analog wall clock. Only 15 minutes have passed since you last checked it. Time moves differently here. It stretches out, expanding into long, luxurious ribbons of quiet moments. You feel no desire to hurry it along. You are perfectly content to exist in this slow, suspended state, floating on the gentle current of the night shift. You let your gaze drift back to the radar screen, watching the pale green line make its endless, sweeping circles. Around and around it goes, wiping the screen clean with every pass, leaving nothing but a faint, glowing memory of the quiet mountainside. The air vents above you cycle off with a soft, mechanical sigh, leaving the room in an even deeper state of hush. Now, the only sounds are the hum of the computers and the slow, rhythmic ticking of the clock. You close your eyes again, feeling the soft amber light pressing gently against your eyelids. You imagine the radio waves radiating out from the heavy antenna on the roof above, traveling invisibly through the cold night air, sweeping over the snowy peaks and dipping down into the silent valleys before returning to the station, bringing back the simple, reassuring message that all is well. All is quiet. All is at peace. The thought is incredibly soothing, wrapping around your mind like a soft, heavy quilt. Your breathing deepens, matching the slow, endless cycle of the radar arm. Inhale as it sweeps the left hemisphere. Exhale as it sweeps the right. The gentle rhythm lulls you further down into the heavy, comfortable armchair. You feel the tension melting out of your jaw, your neck, your shoulders. You let your head fall slightly to the side, finding a perfect, soft resting place against the padded leather. You are a quiet observer in a quiet room, tucked safely away in the heart of a sleeping mountain. The world outside will continue to turn, the snow will continue to fall, but in here nothing changes. In here you are perfectly, entirely safe, drifting on the soft, mechanical heartbeat of the night. You remain in that suspended state for a long, immeasurable time. The line between wakefulness and sleep blurs into a soft, glowing twilight. The steady, rhythmic sounds of the observation station wrap around you like a heavy, knitted blanket. You are aware of the hum, the gentle sweeping of the radar, and the soft shushing of the tape reels, but they no longer demand your attention. They are simply the natural elements of your environment, as constant and soothing as the sound of a distant river. You feel the slow, steady beating of your own heart, a calm and rhythmic pulse that perfectly matches the quiet energy of the room. The thick leather of the armchair holds you in a warm embrace, supporting your weight so completely that you feel almost weightless. The air in the room is a perfect, comfortable temperature, wrapping around your hands and your face with a gentle, soothing touch. You slowly open your eyes, blinking away the heavy, comfortable fog of your resting state. The amber lights of the console seem to have softened even more, glowing with the muted warmth of banked coals in a quiet fireplace. You let out a long, slow exhale, feeling a deep sense of contentment settle into your chest. There is no need to move, no need to disturb the perfect stillness of the moment, but you feel a gentle desire to observe the quiet details of the room once more. You turn your head slightly, the leather of the headrest whispering against your ear, and let your gaze fall upon a specialized instrument set apart on a smaller, dedicated table to your left. It is a recording barograph, a beautiful piece of precision engineering encased in a polished mahogany and glass cabinet. You watch the incredibly slow, deliberate rotation of its brass drum. The drum is wrapped in a sheet of pale, grid-lined paper, and a delicate mechanical arm with a tiny ink pen rests against it. As the atmospheric pressure makes invisible, microscopic shifts, the pen traces a slow, continuous line across the paper. It is a visual record of the calm night, a smooth, barely fluctuating landscape of blue ink. You watch the tip of the pen. It moves so slowly that you cannot actually see it traveling. You can only see that the line has grown just a fraction longer than it was a few moments ago. It is a testament to the absolute stability of the air outside. The sound of the drum turning is almost imperceptible, a faint, metallic whisper that blends seamlessly with the deeper hum of the mainframes. You find yourself captivated by this tiny, silent recording, a physical manifestation of the peace that surrounds you. You let your eyes drift down to the base of the barograph cabinet, where the polished mahogany reflects the ambient amber light in a soft, blurred pool. The wood is rich and dark, speaking of solid craftsmanship, and an era when things were built to last quietly for decades. You reach out your left hand and let your fingertips rest on the edge of the small table. You can feel the very faint, microscopic vibration of the clockwork mechanism turning the drum. It is a steady, reassuring feeling, a tiny pulse of purposeful movement in a room dedicated to standing still. You take a slow breath, inhaling the subtle, comforting sense of the station, the warm dust, the polished wood, the dry paper, and the faint, sweet smell of the machine oil, keeping all the delicate gears turning smoothly. With a gentle push, you sit up slightly in your chair, feeling the cool air brush against the back of your neck where it was pressed into the leather. You decide to stretch your legs once more. You stand up, your movements slow and deeply relaxed, like a diver moving underwater. You walk past the main console, your hand grazing the sturdy metal edge, and head toward a small alcove tucked away in the far corner of the room. This is the break area, a tiny domestic oasis within the industrial setting of the observation floor. It features a small, pale yellow enamel counter, a deep stainless steel sink, and sturdy wooden cabinets painted a soft, eggshell white. A single, warm-toned bulb hangs above the counter, enclosed in a simple, fluted glass shade. You step into the soft pool of light. The linoleum floor here is covered by a braided, oval rug in faded shades of blue and gray. It feels soft and slightly yielding beneath your shoes, a welcome change from the hard floor of the main room. You walk over to the counter, where a heavy, chromed electric kettle sits next to a neat row of ceramic mugs. You reach out and press the heavy, black Bakelite lever on the base of the kettle. It depresses with a solid, satisfying clunk, and a tiny, amber indicator light clicks on, mirroring the larger lights on the consoles behind you. Within moments, you hear the very faint, low hiss of the water beginning to warm. It is a comforting, domestic sound that immediately makes the vast, concrete room feel even more intimate and safe. While you wait for the water to heat, you open one of the overhead cabinets. The hinges are perfectly oiled, opening in complete silence. Inside, neatly arranged rows of tins and boxes await. You select a small, round tin of loose-leaf chamomile tea. The lid comes off with a soft pop, releasing a wave of dry, floral sweetness into the air. It smells like late summer afternoons, a gentle reminder of warmer days held safely in this winter refuge. You take a small, silver mesh tea infuser from a hook on the wall, unclip it, and carefully spoon a small mound of the dried yellow flowers into the mesh sphere. The process is slow and mindful. You snap the infuser shut and place it into a thick, heavy mug glazed in a deep, soothing forest green. The sound of the kettle grows slightly louder, transitioning from a low hiss to a gentle, rolling boil. It is a warm, bubbling sound that fills the small alcove. The lever clicks back up with a sharp, precise snap, and the amber light goes out. The silence rushes back in, softer now, accompanied by the subtle sound of steam escaping the spout. You lift the heavy kettle by its smooth, black handle, feeling the comforting weight of the hot water. You slowly pour the water over the tea infuser in your mug. The water darkens instantly, turning a pale, glowing gold. A plume of steam rises into the air, carrying the relaxing, apple-like scent of the chamomile. You set the kettle down and watch the steam curl and twist in the light from the overhead bulb, drifting lazily toward the vents. You leave the mug on the counter to steep and turn around to lean against the edge of the enamel surface. From this vantage point, you can see the entire observation room. The banks of computers, the spinning tape reels, the large glass window looking out onto the snow. It looks like a beautifully composed photograph, perfectly balanced and completely still. The pale green sweep of the radar screen continues its endless circle, casting a rhythmic, sweeping glow across the ceiling tiles. You cross your arms loosely over your chest, feeling the warmth of your heavy knit sweater. You are completely comfortable. The temperature, the lighting, the sounds, everything is perfectly calibrated for rest and quiet observation. You take a deep breath of the warm, fragrant air, feeling the tension in your shoulders melt away even further. After a few minutes, you turn back to your mug. You lift the small silver chain of the tea infuser, letting the last few drops of golden liquid fall back into the cup with a soft, rhythmic patter. Plink, plink, plink. You place the infuser on a small saucer, pick up the heavy, warm mug in both hands, and slowly make your way back to your station. The heat radiates through the thick ceramic, warming your palms and sending a deep, comforting sensation up your arms. You walk past the tall filing cabinets, past the quiet hum of the mainframes, and step back up to your desk. You set the mug down on the cork coaster, right next to your open logbook. The steam rises up, momentarily fogging the glass face of a nearby dial before clearing away. You don't sit down right away. Instead, you walk right up to the heavy, reinforced observation window. You stand close, your toes almost touching the wall below the sill. You lean in until your face is just inches from the thick glass. The cold from the outside radiates very faintly through the pane, a tiny, refreshing kiss of winter air that contrasts beautifully with the warmth of the room. The moon has shifted higher into the sky, its light now falling directly onto the snow drifts right outside the window. The surface of the snow looks like crushed diamonds, sparkling with 1,000 tiny, frozen reflections. You trace the shape of a large snowdrift with your eyes, following its smooth, wind-sculpted curves. It looks impossibly soft, like a sea of frozen cream. At the very edge of the glass pane, where it meets the heavy rubber and steel frame, you notice a delicate, intricate pattern of frost beginning to form. It is a slow, creeping embroidery of ice crystals, reaching out like tiny, translucent ferns. You watch them grow, a process so slow it is almost imperceptible, yet undeniably happening. It is a tiny, beautiful collision of the freezing world outside and the warm sanctuary inside. You feel completely insulated, completely protected. The thick walls and the heavy glass keep the winter at bay, allowing you to simply admire its stark, quiet beauty without feeling its bite. You rest your forehead against the cool glass for a moment, closing your eyes and just feeling the solid, unyielding strength of the station. You open your eyes and take a slow step back from the window. You turn and lower yourself back into your worn leather chair. The springs sigh, the leather creaks, and you are enveloped once again in your comfortable command post. You reach out and wrap your hands around the warm green mug. You bring it to your lips and take a slow, careful sip. The tea is hot, floral, and deeply soothing. The warmth travels down your throat, settling in your stomach like a small, glowing ember. You take another sip, letting the gentle flavor wash over your tongue. You set the mug down and lean back, letting your hands fall to your lap. You look at the large, analog clock on the wall. The red second hand continues its smooth, silent sweep. It is a comforting reminder that time is passing, but in a gentle, unhurried way. Your gaze drifts back to the main console, settling on a bank of switches you haven't adjusted all night. They are large, sturdy toggle switches, capped with smooth, black plastic. Below them is a row of small, round dials with knurled metal edges. You reach out and gently rest your fingertips on one of the dials. It is cool to the touch. You don't turn it, you just feel the heavy, precise resistance of the mechanism beneath the knob. It feels grounded, solid. Everything in this room is built with purpose and care. You trail your fingers lightly across the row of switches, feeling the smooth bumps of the plastic caps. The tactile sensation is incredibly grounding, pulling you entirely into the present moment. There is no past, no future, only the quiet, steady hum of the present. You look down at your logbook. The thick off-white paper lies flat under the soft light of the desk lamp. Your previous entry is there, written in neat, flowing cursive. The ink has dried to a deep, permanent blue. You pick up the silver pen again, uncapping it with a soft pull. You hold it over the paper, watching the slight shadow it casts. You decide not to write anything just yet. Instead, you slowly trace the edge of the paper with the back of the pen, feeling the slight texture of the heavy stock. You align the pen perfectly parallel to the edge of the book, then pick it up and do it again. It is a small, mindless, repetitive motion, a quiet ritual of order and calm. You set the pen down gently in its designated groove at the top of the desk. The rhythmic shushing of the tape reels draws your attention. You turn your chair slightly to look at them. The large, black reels spin smoothly behind their glass panels, feeding the thick, brown magnetic tape through a complex series of rollers and reed heads. It is a hypnotic dance of mechanical precision. The tape loops down into a gentle arc, then pulls tight, over and over again. You watch the arc rise and fall like the chest of a sleeping giant. The sound it makes is a continuous, breathy whisper. SHHH, SHHH, SHHH. You let your own breathing fall into sync with that sound. You inhale as the tape loops down, exhale as it pulls tight. The air fills your lungs slowly and leaves them just as gently. You turn back to the front, feeling the heavy pull of sleepiness returning, stronger now. The chamomile tea has worked its way through your system, relaxing your muscles and quieting your mind. Your eyelids feel heavy, as if tiny weights have been placed upon them. The amber lights of the console blur and stretch into soft, glowing bands of color. The sweeping green line of the radar screen becomes a gentle, washing wave of light across your relaxed vision. You let your head sink back into the leather headrest, rolling it slightly from side to side until you find the perfect, most comfortable spot. Your arms feel completely boneless, resting heavily on the armrests. Your legs are warm and entirely relaxed. You close your eyes, shutting out the soft lights of the room. The darkness is immediate and comforting. The sounds of the station seem to swell slightly in the absence of visual input. The deep, low hum of the generators, the breathy shushing of the tape reels, the slow, sweeping whisper of the radar, the very faint, metallic scratching of the barograph pen across the room. They form a perfect, continuous symphony of calm. You are floating in the center of it, a quiet passenger on a slow, peaceful journey through the night. The concrete walls protect you. The leather chair holds you. The winter night surrounds you. You are safe. You are warm. You are completely at peace, sinking deeper and deeper into the quiet rhythm of the observation station. You remain suspended in that perfect, warm darkness for a time that simply cannot be measured. The clock on the wall continues its silent, sweeping count, but its numbers hold no authority over you here. You exist only in the gentle, rhythmic cadence of your own breathing and the soft, mechanical heartbeat of the station. The heavy leather chair has become an extension of yourself, molding to every curve and contour of your relaxed muscles, supporting you so completely that the boundary between your body and the chair seems to dissolve into a single, comfortable entity. You feel the faint, continuous vibration of the floor beneath you, a deep, resonant hum that travels up through the soles of your shoes, through the heavy metal desk, and into the very air of the room. It is the sound of absolute stability, of a structure built deep into the bedrock, perfectly insulated from the quiet, frozen world outside. You let out a long, slow sigh, and as the air leaves your lungs, you feel your shoulders drop a fraction of an inch lower, releasing tension you didn't even realize you were carrying. Slowly, effortlessly, you allow your eyes to drift open. The room has not changed, yet it feels somehow softer, as if the air itself has thickened into a warm, amber-tinted syrup. The glowing lights of the console seem to pulse with a slow, living rhythm. The pale green of the radar, the warm gold of the dials, the soft white of the indicator lamps, they all blend into a deeply soothing tapestry of color that washes over your relaxed vision. You turn your head slightly to the right, a movement so slow and deliberate it feels like swimming through heavy water. You look toward the large observation window. The moon has continued its quiet journey across the indigo sky, and its angle has shifted. Now, a wide, luminous beam of pale silver light falls diagonally through the thick glass, stretching across the polished linoleum floor like a silent, glowing pathway. You find yourself utterly captivated by this rectangular pool of moonlight. You watch the way it changes the color of the floor, turning the warm, golden reflections of the room into cool, muted shades of slate and pearl. Where the moonlight intersects with the soft, ambient glow of the consoles, there is a gentle mingling of light, a beautiful, quiet collision of the natural world and the warm, enclosed sanctuary of the station. You look closer, narrowing your eyes just a fraction, and you begin to notice the tiny, weightless dust motes suspended within the beam. There are hundreds of them, perhaps thousands, drifting in a slow, chaotic, and entirely silent dance. They catch the moonlight, turning into microscopic sparks of silver, rising and falling on the invisible thermal currents of the room. You watch a single, glowing speck drift upward, twisting lazily, before catching a gentle downdraft and floating back toward the floor. It is a mesmerizing, hypnotic display, a miniature galaxy swirling entirely for your quiet observation. You sit there for a long time, just watching the dust motes dance in the silver light. The absolute stillness of the scene is a balm to your tired mind. You feel no urge to move, no desire to break the spell. But eventually, a deep, comfortable sigh escapes your lips, and you slowly push yourself up from the depths of the armchair. The worn leather gives a soft, familiar creak, a sound that feels like a gentle acknowledgement of your movement. You stand beside the desk, letting your hands rest lightly on the cool metal surface. You decide to take a slow, unhurried walk to the far side of the console bank, a section you haven't inspected since the beginning of your shift. Your footsteps are soft, rhythmic taps against the linoleum, completely muffled by the heavy acoustic tiles above. You walk with a slow, swaying grace, completely unburdened by any sense of urgency. You reach the far end of the equipment rack. This section is older, built with thick, textured steel panels painted a deep, muted olive drab. The surface is cool to the touch as you run your fingertips lightly across it. There are no large screens here, only rows of small, precise analog gauges protected by thick, beveled glass. The faces of the gauges are an off-white color, aged to the shade of old parchment, with delicate black markings and slender needle-thin pointers. You lean in close to examine one of the dials. It measures the voltage of a secondary backup system. The needle is perfectly still, resting squarely on the center line. It hasn't moved a millimeter. You watch it for a full minute, just to be sure, finding a profound sense of peace in its unwavering dedication to remaining exactly where it is. It is a picture of total equilibrium. Below the gauges sits a row of heavy, knurled metal knobs. They are made of solid brass, tarnished slightly by years of quiet handling to a dull, comforting gold. You reach out and gently rest your thumb and forefinger on the edge of the first knob. You don't turn it. You just feel the cold, heavy solidity of the metal, the precise machining of the textured edge against your skin. It feels incredibly grounding, a tangible connection to the massive, silent machinery that hums beneath your feet. You slowly trace your finger across the row, touching each knob in turn, a quiet, tactile ritual of observation. 1, 2, 3, 4. The repetitive motion is incredibly soothing, focusing your mind completely on the simple physical sensation of metal against skin. You turn away from the older panel and walk toward the center of the room, approaching the tall, glass-fronted cabinets that house the mainframe computers. The rhythmic shushing of the magnetic tape reels grows slightly louder as you get closer, a steady, breathy whisper that fills the space around you. SHHH, SHHH, SHHH. You stop in front of the largest cabinet and look through the heavy glass. The reels are massive, constructed of dark, heavy plastic, and they spin with a smooth, flawless precision. You watch the thick brown ribbon of tape spooling from one reel to the other, looping gracefully through the delicate tension arms. It is a flawless mechanical ballet, repeating endlessly without ever missing a step. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the sound of the tapes wash over you. It sounds like a gentle ocean tide rolling onto a smooth, sandy beach. The wave comes in, the wave goes out. The tape pulls tight, the tape goes slack. You match your breathing to the rhythm, taking slow, deep inhales as the sound rises and long, relaxing exhales as it falls. You feel the gentle vibration of the cabinet through the soles of your shoes, a physical echo of the sound. You stand there, a silent observer in the dark, bathed in the soft ambient light, letting the endless, repetitive motion lull you into an even deeper state of relaxation. You are perfectly insulated, perfectly safe, completely detached from the quiet, frozen world outside the thick concrete walls. When you open your eyes, you decide to walk back toward your desk. You take a different path this time, weaving slowly between the large, silent pieces of equipment. You pass by the weather simulation module, glancing at the large, softly glowing screen. The patterns have shifted again, the pale lavender and soft amber lines now swirling in a massive, lazy figure eight across the dark background of the continent. The colors seem to pulse softly, bleeding into one another with incredibly slow, liquid grace. You watch a small eddy of pale blue air detach from the main current and swirl gently off to the side, dissolving slowly into the dark background. It is a visual lullaby, rendering the massive, invisible forces of the atmosphere into a quiet, harmless dance of light. You reach your desk and gently pull the heavy leather chair back. You sink into it, letting the deep cushions absorb your weight once more. You reach out and turn the small brass knob on your desk lamp, bringing the light up just a fraction. A warm, golden circle illuminates the smooth metal surface of the desk. In the center of the circle lies a heavy, perfectly polished wooden box. It is a stationary organizer, crafted from dark, rich mahogany with delicate brass hinges. You have seen it 100 times, but tonight, its simple, orderly beauty seems particularly comforting. You reach out and slowly lift the lid. It opens with a tiny, incredibly satisfying squeak of polished wood against wood. Inside, the box is divided into neat, velvet-lined compartments. In one section, a row of perfectly sharpened, yellow cedar pencils lies in precise, parallel lines. The smell of the cedar and the graphite drifts up, a dry, nostalgic scent that reminds you of quiet libraries and focused, peaceful work. In another compartment, a small collection of silver paper clips rests on the dark velvet, gleaming softly in the light from the lamp. You reach in and pick up one of the paper clips. The metal is smooth and cool. You slowly turn it over in your fingers, feeling the smooth curves of the wire. It is a tiny, perfect object, designed for a single, simple purpose. You place it back into the compartment, aligning it carefully with the others. The act of organizing, of making sure everything is exactly in its proper place, brings a deep, profound sense of calm to your mind. You close the lid of the wooden box. The gentle click of the latch is a small, final sound of order. You lean back in your chair and let your hands fall into your lap. The sleeves of your thick woolen sweater are pulled down over your wrists, keeping you perfectly warm. You look down at the fabric, noticing the intricate interlocking pattern of the knit. The wool is a soft, heathered gray, speckled with tiny fibers of white and charcoal. You slowly run your fingers over the sleeve, feeling the coarse, comforting texture of the yarn. You trace the line of a single stitch as it weaves over and under its neighbors, a tiny, interconnected loop in a much larger, cohesive whole. You find yourself counting the stitches, a slow, rhythmic meditation. 1, 2, 3, 4. The repetitive, simple focus pushes away any lingering thoughts, leaving your mind completely clear, completely still. The room seems to grow quieter, the hum of the mainframe settling into a softer, deeper register. You look back out the observation window. The beam of moonlight has shifted across the floor, the earth turning slowly and silently beneath the stars. The snow outside remains undisturbed, a vast, glowing ocean of frozen peace. You feel a heavy, comfortable warmth spreading through your chest, radiating outward to your limbs. Your eyelids begin to droop again, the effort of keeping them open feeling entirely unnecessary. You are safe. You are warm. The station is quiet, and the night is holding you in its gentle, steady embrace. You allow your eyes to close once more, sinking gratefully into the soft, mechanical heartbeat of the observation floor, adrift on a calm, endless sea of time. The heavy, comfortable darkness behind your eyes begins to take on a soft, shifting texture. It is no longer just a flat expanse of black, but a deep, dimensional space filled with the subtle, lingering afterimages of the room's amber and green lights. They float lazily across your field of vision like slow-moving clouds in a midnight sky. The rhythmic shushing of the tape reels and the low thrum of the floor beneath you anchor you completely to the present moment. You feel a profound sense of gravity, an incredibly pleasant heaviness that presses you down into the soft, worn leather of your chair. Your arms and legs feel as though they are made of warm, dense sand, completely relaxed and entirely immobile. You are perfectly content to remain this way, suspended in the quiet heartbeat of the station, letting the deep hours of the night wash over you in slow, invisible waves. After a long, unmeasured stretch of time, a new sound gently enters your awareness. It is so faint at first that you almost mistake it for the rush of your own slow breathing. It is the wind outside. It has finally begun to stir, waking up from its frozen slumber to brush against the thick, concrete shell of the observation station. The sound is incredibly muffled, filtered through layers of earth and reinforced stone until it becomes nothing more than a low, resonant sigh. Whoosh. It rises slowly, a deep, mournful note, and then fades away just as gently. You open your eyes just a fraction, keeping them heavy and relaxed, and look toward the large observation window. The glass is so thick that it completely dampens any higher frequencies, leaving only the bass notes of the air currents pushing past the building. It sounds like the ocean heard from inside a deep, secure cavern. You watch the snow outside. It is no longer perfectly still. The wind is picking up the finest, driest top layer of the snowpack, creating a swirling, glowing mist of ice crystals that dances across the surface of the drifts. In the bright, pale light of the moon, it looks like a sea of silver smoke, rolling and shifting with slow, hypnotic grace. You watch a particularly dense eddy of snow spin into the air, twirling like a miniature, slow-motion cyclone before breaking apart and scattering back down to the earth. The contrast between the cold, swirling movement outside and the absolute, unchanging stillness of the room inside makes you feel even more sheltered. You let out a long, warm sigh, feeling a deep wave of gratitude for the thick walls, the heavy door, and the reliable, humming heaters that keep the winter safely at bay. You slowly push yourself up from the depths of the armchair, your movements loose and entirely unhurried. The leather sighs beneath you, releasing its grip. You decide to take a walk to the opposite side of the room, a section dedicated to long-term record keeping. You move with a slow, swaying gait, your muscles feeling wonderfully relaxed and heavy. You pass the main console, trailing a finger lightly along the smooth, cool edge of the metal desk. You pass the tall, humming mainframes, feeling the gentle draft of warm air from their cooling vents. You arrive at a row of heavy oak bookshelves built directly into the concrete wall. The wood is a deep, honeyed brown, polished to a dull sheen by decades of quiet use. The shelves are filled with thick, identically bound volumes, their spines stamped with neat gold-leaf dates and sequence numbers. You stand before the shelves, breathing in the scent of the old books. It is a dry, comforting aroma, a mix of aging paper, binding glue, and the faint, sweet dust that settles in quiet archives. You reach out and slide a heavy volume from the middle shelf. The book is substantial, its weight satisfying and grounding in your hands. You open it to a random page. There is no text to read, only endless columns of numbers and delicate, hand-drawn graphs charting the atmospheric pressure, temperature, and humidity from decades past. The ink is a faded, soft sepia, the lines drawn with meticulous, unwavering precision. You run your fingertips lightly over the surface of the page, feeling the slight indentation left by the pen nib so many years ago. It is a physical record of another quiet, peaceful night, exactly like this one, frozen in time and safely preserved. You close the book with a soft, muted thump and carefully slide it back into its exact place on the shelf. The orderliness of the archive is deeply soothing. Everything has a place, and everything is in its place. You turn away from the shelves and notice a small, secondary workstation tucked into the corner. It features an older, beautifully preserved radio transceiver, housed in a cabinet of brushed aluminum and dark wood. The front panel is a masterpiece of mid-century design, adorned with large, bakelite tuning dials and heavy, chrome-plated toggle switches. A small, circular speaker is set into the metal face. Covered by a piece of tight, woven fabric, the transceiver is turned on, but it is not tuned to any voice frequencies. Instead, it is locked onto a continuous, automated navigation beacon. You step closer and listen to the sound coming from the small speaker. It is a soft, melodic hum, a continuous electronic tone that pulses with a slow, reassuring rhythm. Beep, beep, beep. The pitch is low and warm, designed to cut through static without being jarring. You reach out and gently rest your hand on top of the wooden cabinet. You can feel the very faint vibration of the speaker cone moving the air. The sound is hypnotic. It is the sound of the invisible radio waves connecting this isolated station to the rest of the vast, quiet continent. It is a reminder that even in this profound solitude, you are part of a larger, perfectly functioning system. You stand there for a long time, just listening to the slow, steady pulse of the beacon, letting it synchronize with your own slow heartbeat. Above the transceiver, a large, heavy-duty analog calendar clock hangs on the wall. The clock face is divided into sections, showing the time, the day of the week, and the date. The mechanism is entirely mechanical, driven by a series of precise, slow-moving gears. As you watch, the minute hand reaches the top of the hour. There is a soft, deep click from inside the casing, and one of the display panels slowly rotates, flipping over to reveal the next day. The movement is incredibly smooth and deliberate, a quiet, mechanical acknowledgement of the passage of time. You watch the numbers settle into place, feeling a profound sense of detachment. The days blend together here, marked only by the shifting weather and the slow accumulation of data in the logbooks. It is a peaceful, uncomplicated existence, completely removed from the rush and noise of the outside world. You slowly walk back to the center of the room, feeling the soft, braided rug beneath your shoes near the break alcove. You step into the small kitchen area. The air here still holds a faint, sweet trace of the chamomile tea you made earlier. The small, overhead bulb casts a warm, sepia glow over the pale yellow enamel counter. You pick up a clean, heavy cotton dishcloth and slowly begin to wipe down the counter, even though it is already perfectly clean. The repetitive, circular motion of your hand is incredibly soothing. Wipe, circle, return. Wipe, circle, return. You focus entirely on the physical sensation, the rough texture of the cloth, the smooth, cool surface of the enamel, the gentle stretch of your shoulder muscles. It is a simple, mindful task that clears away any remaining cobwebs from your mind. You fold the dishcloth neatly into a perfect square and drape it over the edge of the deep stainless steel sink. You turn and lean against the counter, crossing your arms loosely. The main observation room stretches out before you, a sanctuary of soft light and quiet machinery. The sweeping green arm of the radar continues its endless circle, casting rhythmic, glowing shadows against the far wall. The tape reels whisper their continuous, breathy secrets. The barograph pen traces its slow, unwavering line. It is a symphony of calm, a mechanical lullaby that wraps around you and holds you tight. You feel a deep, heavy wave of sleepiness wash over you once again, stronger this time. Your eyelids flutter, struggling to stay open against the comfortable weight pressing down on them. You push away from the counter and make your slow, heavy journey back to the leather armchair. The few steps seem to take a wonderfully long time, each movement slow and deliberate. You reach the desk and look at the green ceramic mug resting on its cork coaster. The tea inside has cooled completely, the golden liquid now still and dark. You reach out and touch the side of the mug. It is perfectly room temperature. You trace the smooth rim with your thumb, feeling the solid curve of the ceramic. You don't need to drink it. The ritual of making it, the smell of the flowers, the warmth it provided earlier, that was enough. You leave it sitting exactly where it is, a small, quiet, still life on the vast metal expanse of the desk. You lower yourself into the armchair, feeling the worn leather embrace you like an old, familiar friend. The chair creaks softly, settling around your weight. You lean your head back, finding the perfect indentation in the headrest. You slide your hands into your lap, interlacing your fingers gently. The ambient light of the room feels incredibly soft now, the amber and green glowing like gentle embers in a dying fire. You look out the window one last time. The snow is still swirling in the pale moonlight, a quiet, slow-motion blizzard that cannot touch you. The wind continues its low, mournful sigh against the concrete, a sound that only serves to make the interior feel warmer, safer, more secure. You let your eyes drift completely closed. The darkness is immediate and profound, yet incredibly comforting. You can still see the faint, ghostly afterimages of the console lights slowly fading into the warm blackness. The sounds of the room surround you. The steady, low thrum of the floor, the sweeping whisper of the radar, the continuous, breathy shushing of the tapes, the slow, rhythmic pulse of the navigation beacon from the corner. Beep, beep, beep. They all blend together into a single, cohesive sound of pure, unbroken peace. You let out one final, long breath, feeling your chest fall and your muscles release entirely. You are floating now, suspended in the gentle hum of the observation station, a quiet passenger on a slow, peaceful journey through the deep, welcoming night. Your mind drifts away from the room, away from the dials and the switches, and out into the vast, silent wilderness beyond the walls. You imagine the snow falling softly over the pine trees, covering the world in a thick, insulating blanket of white. You imagine the quiet animals sleeping deeply in their warm, hidden burrows, completely undisturbed by the shifting winds. You feel a profound connection to that stillness, a deep, resonant harmony with the sleeping earth. The station is simply a part of that landscape, a quiet observer maintaining a gentle, unobtrusive watch over the natural world. The machinery is not a disruption, but an extension of the calm, working tirelessly to record the simple, beautiful fact that all is well. All is quiet. All is at peace. The low hum of the generators vibrates through the leather chair, traveling up your spine and relaxing the very core of your body. You feel yourself sinking deeper and deeper, the boundaries of your physical form softening and blending with the warm air of the room. You are no longer just sitting in the chair. You are a part of the gentle, sweeping rhythm of the night. The slow rotation of the barograph drum, the endless circle of the radar, the rise and fall of the tape loops, the smooth, silent glide of the clock's second hand. You are moving with them, carried along on a slow, endless current of time that requires absolutely nothing from you. You are completely safe. You are completely warm. You are completely at rest. The boundary between your gentle, drifting thoughts and the quiet reality of the observation room is wonderfully blurred, a soft, permeable membrane of warmth and sound. You are resting in a space where time has lost its sharp edges, becoming nothing more than a slow, continuous flow of comfortable moments. The heavy leather armchair continues to hold you, its worn contours perfectly matched to the shape of your relaxed body. You feel the slow, steady rhythm of your own breathing, a deep, tidal rise and fall that echoes the quiet shushing of the tape reels across the room. The darkness behind your closed eyes is no longer just an absence of light, but a rich, velvet expanse, painted with the faint, lingering memories of amber dials and pale green radar sweeps. You are completely untethered from the demands of the waking world, floating freely in the warm, insulated capsule of the station. Slowly, as if rising through deep, clear water, you allow your awareness to return to the physical space around you. You do not open your eyes just yet. You simply listen. The sounds of the room are a familiar, comforting symphony. The low, subsonic thrum of the generators deep beneath the concrete floor vibrates gently through the heavy metal desk and into the legs of your chair. It is a sound of immense, contained power, dedicated entirely to preserving the quiet equilibrium of this sanctuary. Above that deep bass note, you hear the delicate, breathy whisper of the magnetic tapes, spinning their endless loops of data. SHHH, SHHH, SHHH. It is a sound that requires nothing from you, a mechanical lullaby that promises everything is working exactly as it should. You feel a subtle shift in the air currents of the room. The large, silent ventilation system near the ceiling cycles on with a faint, breathy sigh, sending a slow, gentle stream of warm air cascading down the thick concrete walls. You feel the warmth brush against your cheek and the back of your hands, a soft, invisible blanket that chases away any lingering memory of the freezing winter night outside. The temperature in the room is perfectly calibrated, wrapping around you in a seamless embrace. You take a long, slow breath, pulling the clean, warm air deep into your lungs. It smells faintly of warm dust, polished mahogany, and the dry, sweet scent of old paper from the logbooks. It is the scent of safety, of absolute, unwavering security. With a slowness that borders on stillness, you let your eyelids drift open. The soft, amber light of the main console greets you, glowing with the muted intensity of banked coals in a quiet hearth. The room has not changed, yet it feels somehow more intimate, more deeply settled into the silence of the night. You look toward the large observation window. The pale, silver beam of moonlight has moved across the polished linoleum floor, tracking the slow, silent rotation of the earth. It now illuminates the far corner of the room, casting long, soft shadows behind the tall filing cabinets. The dust motes still dance within the beam, a microscopic, slow-motion ballet that you watch with heavy, relaxed eyes. You feel a gentle desire to stretch, to pull your muscles out of their comfortable languor. You push your hands down against the wide, padded armrests of the chair, feeling the cool, worn leather beneath your palms. With a deep, satisfying sigh, you slowly rise to your feet. The chair creaks softly behind you, a deeply domestic sound in this room of precision engineering. You stand completely still for a moment, letting your balance settle, feeling the solid, unyielding strength of the floor beneath your boots. The heavy rubber soles of your shoes ground you perfectly, absorbing the faint vibration of the generators. You roll your shoulders back, feeling the thick, soft wool of your sweater stretch and settle against your skin. You decide to take a slow, unhurried walk to a section of the room you have not visited in hours. You move away from the glowing amber consoles, your footsteps falling in a soft, muffled rhythm against the linoleum. Heel-toe pause, heel-toe pause. You are not walking to get anywhere. You are simply moving for the joy of moving, for the quiet, sensory experience of walking through the safe, warm space. You approach a massive, freestanding cabinet in the shadowy corner of the room, near where the moonlight now falls. This is the seismographic station, a delicate instrument designed to monitor the incredibly faint, natural vibrations of the Earth itself. The cabinet is constructed of solid, dark walnut, resting on a massive block of polished granite that is anchored directly into the mountain's bedrock. The top half of the cabinet is entirely enclosed in thick, beveled glass, protecting the sensitive instruments inside from even the slightest draft of air. You stand before the glass, resting your hands lightly on the smooth wooden frame. Inside, a heavy brass pendulum is suspended by a delicate, nearly invisible filament of quartz. The brass is polished to a mirror finish, reflecting the dim ambient light of the room. Attached to the pendulum is an incredibly fine stylus, resting against a slowly rotating drum of pale, grid-lined paper. You lean in closer, bringing your face just inches from the cold glass. You watch the stylus. It is drawing a continuous, almost perfectly straight line of deep black ink across the paper. There are no sudden movements, no jagged peaks or valleys. Only the microscopic, rhythmic waviness of the Earth's natural, quiet heartbeat, the microseisms created by distant ocean waves brushing against the continental shelf thousands of miles away. It is profoundly soothing to watch this silent, continuous recording of the planet's slow, peaceful breathing. The drum rotates with a glacial slowness, driven by a clockwork mechanism so precise and quiet that you cannot hear it at all. You just stand there, bathed in the soft shadows, watching the ink trace the endless, quiet stability of the ground beneath you. The scent of the walnut cabinet, rich and slightly sweet, mingles with the faint, metallic smell of the ink. You reach out and slowly trace the beveled edge of the glass with your index finger. The glass is smooth and cold, a perfect, frictionless surface. The repetitive motion of your hand, moving back and forth along the edge, is a quiet, mindful ritual. It focuses your attention entirely on the physical sensation, drawing your mind away from any lingering thoughts and anchoring it firmly in the present moment. You feel the heavy, comfortable weight of your own body, the gentle rise and fall of your chest, the slow, rhythmic beating of your heart. You are a part of this quiet room, as still and steady as the heavy granite blocks supporting the pendulum. After a long, peaceful time watching the slow turning of the drum, you slowly step away from the seismograph. You turn and begin to walk toward the narrow hallway that leads back toward the entrance of the observation floor. You pass beneath a series of small, frosted glass wall sconces, their warm, yellowish light washing over the pale gray concrete walls. The hallway is completely silent, the heavy acoustic tiles on the ceiling absorbing even the softest sounds of your footsteps. You reach a small alcove set into the wall, enclosed by a pair of louvered wooden doors. This is the coach room, a small, purely domestic space tucked away within the industrial architecture of the station. You reach out and pull one of the louvered doors open. The hinges are perfectly oiled, yielding with a smooth, silent grace. The air inside the alcove is slightly cooler, smelling strongly of dry cedar, heavy canvas, and oiled leather. The walls are paneled in raw, aromatic cedar wood, a natural defense against moths and dampness. Hanging from heavy brass hooks are the station's extreme cold-weather garments. Thick, olive-drab parkas with deep, fur-lined hoods, heavy, insulated canvas overalls, and pairs of thick, waterproof leather boots lined with dense white fleece. You reach out and brush your hand against the sleeve of one of the parkas. The canvas is stiff and heavy, designed to withstand the most punishing winter winds. Just touching the heavy fabric sends a wave of deep comfort through you. You are surrounded by layers of protection. The thick concrete walls of the station, the deep bedrock of the mountain, the heavy steel doors, and even these thick, insulated garments waiting patiently in the cedar-scented dark. The freezing wind outside is an abstract concept, completely powerless against the warmth and security of your environment. You slowly slide your hand into one of the deep, fleece-lined pockets of the parka. The fleece is incredibly soft and warm, a gentle contrast to the stiff canvas exterior. You leave your hand there for a moment, simply enjoying the tactile sensation of absolute, unwavering warmth. You withdraw your hand and gently close the louvered door. The soft click of the latch is a satisfying sound of closure. You turn back toward the main observation room, letting your eyes adjust once again to the soft, glowing twilight of the instrument panels. You walk back toward your desk, passing the tall, humming mainframes. The shushing sound of the tape reels washes over you, a continuous, breathy wave of sound. SHHH, SHHH, SHHH. You reach your desk and run your hand along the smooth, cool metal edge. You sink back into the heavy leather armchair, feeling it welcome you back with a familiar, yielding embrace. You lean back, resting your head against the padded headrest, and let out a long, slow sigh. You look down at the bank of drawers built into the side of the heavy steel desk. The drawers are painted the same soft, olive green as the rest of the consoles, with wide, brushed aluminum handles. You reach down and wrap your fingers around the handle of the top drawer. The metal is cool and solid. You pull gently, and the drawer slides open on precision ball-bearing runners. The movement is flawless, emitting only a deep, satisfying hum of perfectly machined metal gliding against metal. The inside of the drawer is lined with a dark green felt. Resting neatly on the felt is a small collection of maintenance tools. A set of tiny, jeweler's screwdrivers with ridged, silver handles, a small brass oil can with a long, slender spout, and a beautiful wooden-handled dusting brush with incredibly soft, dark bristles. You reach in and pick up the dusting brush. The wooden handle is turned from smooth, polished cherry wood, tapering gracefully to fit perfectly in the palm of your hand. It feels weightless, an extension of your own fingers. You slowly push the drawer closed. It glides shut with a soft, heavy thud, the sound of perfect engineering. You hold the brush up in the dim light, looking at the dense cluster of fine bristles. They are made of natural hair, incredibly soft and completely non-abrasive, designed to clean delicate glass dials and sensitive analog instruments without leaving a single scratch. You reach out your left hand and gently stroke the bristles with your thumb. They yield instantly, brushing against your skin like a whisper. You turn in your chair, facing a lower section of the console that houses a row of complex, multi-layered rotary dials. These dials control the fine-tuning frequencies of the atmospheric sensors on the roof. They are beautiful, intricate pieces of machinery, with knurled bakelite knobs set against brushed steel faceplates. You bring the brush to the first dial and gently sweep the soft bristles over the top of the knob. The motion is slow, deliberate, and entirely mindful. You watch the fine hairs glide over the textured bakelite, dipping into the tiny grooves and effortlessly sweeping away microscopic particles of dust. The sound of the brush against the plastic is a barely audible, soft swish. Swish, swish. You move to the next dial, repeating the gentle, sweeping motion. You are not rushing. There is no deadline, no urgency. This is a quiet, meditative ritual of care and maintenance. You sweep the brush across the brushed steel faceplate, watching the metal gleam softly in the amber light. You trace the circumference of each dial, ensuring that every curve and crevice is perfectly clean. The repetitive nature of the task is incredibly soothing. Sweep, sweep, pause. Move to the next. Sweep, sweep, pause. Your breathing falls into rhythm with the motion of your hand, slow and even. You feel a deep sense of satisfaction, a quiet pride in the immaculate condition of the equipment you are entrusted to watch over. As you carefully dust the instruments, you notice the gentle, sweeping glow of the radar screen reflecting off the polished cherry wood handle of the brush. The pale green light washes over the wood in a continuous, rhythmic wave, highlighting the smooth, curved grain. You pause for a moment, resting the brush against your knee, and simply watch the reflection. The radar arm circles endlessly, a silent sentinel sweeping the dark, empty sky. The room is filled with these small, beautiful details, these quiet intersections of light and shadow, form and function. You are immersed in a world of profound, orderly calm, where every object has a purpose and every movement is slow and considered. You resume your gentle dusting, moving to a small bank of toggle switches. You sweep the soft bristles over the smooth, black plastic caps of the switches, clearing away any imaginary dust that might have settled there. The tactile sensation of the brush against the switches is deeply grounding. You can feel the slight resistance of the bristles, the smooth curves of the plastic, the solid, unyielding metal of the faceplate behind them. You lose yourself entirely in the simple, physical act of cleaning. The vast, sleeping world outside the thick concrete walls fades away completely, leaving only the small, illuminated circle of the console and the soft, repetitive swish of the brush. When you have finished dusting the entire section of the console, you hold the brush still. The dials and switches gleam softly in the ambient light, perfectly clean, perfectly cared for. You slowly pull open the top drawer of the desk again. The metal runners hum their deep, satisfying note. You place the brush carefully back into its designated spot on the green felt lining, aligning the wooden handle perfectly parallel to the edge of the drawer. You slide the drawer shut, the heavy thud sealing the tools away. You lean back in the leather chair, letting your hands fall into your lap and let out a long, slow sigh of contentment. You turn your head slowly toward the large observation window. The angle of the moonlight has shifted once more, the silver beam now illuminating the far wall of the room, leaving the floor in soft, deep shadow. The snow outside is still falling, a gentle, continuous drift of tiny, dry flakes. The wind has quieted down, returning to a low, barely perceptible whisper against the thick glass. The heavy pine trees stand motionless, their dark branches heavily laden with fresh snow. The world outside is a perfect, silent picture of winter deep in the mountains. You watch the snow fall, feeling a profound sense of isolation and security. You are completely alone, but you are not lonely. You are accompanied by the quiet, steady hum of the station, a comforting presence that holds you safe in its warm embrace. You feel a deep, heavy wave of sleepiness begin to roll over you once again. The physical exertion of walking to the seismograph and dusting the console, slight as it was, has relaxed your muscles even further. The warmth of the room seems to press against you, a soft, invisible weight that pulls you down into the deep cushions of the armchair. Your eyelids begin to droop, the effort of keeping them open feeling entirely unnecessary. The amber and green lights of the instrument panels blur and stretch, forming soft, glowing halos in your relaxed vision. You let your head sink back into the padded leather, rolling it slightly until you find the perfect, most comfortable position. The rhythmic sounds of the room swell gently in your ears. The deep, subsonic thrum of the floor, the breathy, continuous shushing of the tape reels, the slow, sweeping whisper of the radar. They wrap around you, a continuous mechanical lullaby that drowns out any stray thoughts or worries. You focus entirely on the sound of your own breathing. You take a slow, deep inhale, feeling the warm air fill your lungs, and then release it in a long, slow exhale that seems to carry away the very last remnants of tension in your body. Your arms and legs feel incredibly heavy, completely boneless and utterly relaxed. You are sinking down into the heavy, comfortable darkness behind your closed eyes. You remain in this suspended state, drifting on the edge of sleep, for a long, quiet stretch of time. The station breathes around you, a slow, mechanical respiration of circulating air and spinning tapes. You feel the faint, continuous vibration of the generators humming through the leather of the chair, a soothing massage that reaches deep into your bones. You imagine the thick, reinforced concrete walls surrounding you, massive blocks of stone and steel that stand impenetrable against the winter night. You imagine the layers of earth and rock above you, the deep, silent weight of the mountain itself sheltering this tiny, glowing room. You are tucked away in the safest, quietest place in the world, surrounded by heavy, protective layers of absolute calm. A tiny, delicate sound breaks the continuous hum of the room, drawing your attention without startling you. It is the soft, metallic click of a relay switching over in one of the tall mainframe cabinets. Click. It is a precise, purposeful sound, signaling the completion of one automated task and the beginning of another. A moment later, the continuous shushing of the tape reel slows down, the pitch dropping slightly as the thick, brown magnetic tape rewinds. The sound changes from a breathy whisper to a low, rhythmic whir. Whir, whir, whir. You listen to the changing mechanical cadence, finding it just as soothing as the previous rhythm. The machines are awake so that you can rest. They are keeping watch, recording the silence, ensuring that the peaceful equilibrium of the night is preserved. The whirring sound stops with another soft click, and the original breathy shushing resumes. SHHH, SHHH, SHHH. The cycle is complete, the data safely stored. You let out another slow, heavy sigh, feeling your chest rise and fall in perfect time with the spinning reels. You slowly open your eyes just a fraction, looking out through eyelashes heavy with sleep. The room is bathed in the soft, unchanging glow of the amber dials and the pale green radar. The large weather simulation screen on the far wall catches your attention. The swirling lines of air currents have slowed down even further, settling into a massive, stagnant pool of deep, indigo calm over the center of the continent. The colors are incredibly rich and soothing, a visual representation of the profound, heavy stillness that covers the sleeping earth. You watch the slow, almost imperceptible movement of the lines on the screen. It is like watching paint dry or watching a flower bloom in incredibly slow motion. Your mind detaches from the image, floating freely in the warm, heavy air of the room. You have no thoughts, no worries, no plans for the future. You exist entirely in this single, perfect moment. Surrounded by the quiet hum of the observation station, the thick wool sweater holds your body heat close. The worn leather chair cradles your weight. The soft, ambient light rests gently against your eyes. You are completely, utterly safe. The vast, freezing wilderness outside the thick concrete walls is a world away, powerless to disturb the profound, manufactured peace of the observation floor. You slowly lift your right hand, letting it rest lightly on the heavy, green ceramic mug sitting on the cork coaster. The mug is completely cold now, the chamomile tea inside a dark, still pool. You trace the smooth rim with your thumb, feeling the solid, unyielding curve of the ceramic. The tactile sensation is grounding, a quiet anchor in the drifting sea of your sleepy consciousness. You slowly pull your hand away, letting it fall limply into your lap. You interlace your fingers loosely, feeling the slow, steady warmth of your own skin. The air vent above you cycles off with a soft sigh, plunging the room into an even deeper state of hush. Now, the silence is so profound that the low, continuous hum of the mainframe sounds almost loud, a dominant, resonant chord that fills the entire space. You close your eyes fully, shutting out the soft lights of the console. The darkness is a heavy, velvet curtain that drops over your mind, shutting out the waking world completely. You feel a deep, delicious wave of sleep wash over you, pulling you down into the warm, comfortable depths. You do not resist it. You welcome it. You let your head fall slightly to the side, finding the perfect, soft resting place against the padded leather headrest. Your jaw relaxes, your lips parting slightly as your breathing becomes deep and even. You are a quiet, unmoving passenger on the slow, steady journey of the night shift. The station will continue its watchful hum, the snow will continue its silent fall, and you will continue to drift, safe and warm, in the heart of the sleeping mountain. The passage of time in this deep, subterranean sanctuary is not measured by the frantic ticking of seconds, but by the slow, gentle breathing of the machinery and the steady, rhythmic beating of your own heart. You rest in the heavy leather armchair, suspended in a state of profound physical and mental stillness. The boundary between your sleeping mind and the waking world is a soft, translucent veil, rippling gently with the ambient sounds of the observation station. You are vaguely aware of the low, subsonic thrum of the generators, a continuous vibration that feels less like a sound and more like the natural resonance of the earth itself. It is a deep, comforting presence, a mechanical guarantee of warmth, light, and unwavering safety. The heavy blanket of the night presses against the thick concrete walls, but it cannot reach you here. You are perfectly insulated, tucked away in a warm, glowing pocket of mid-century engineering. Gradually, without any sudden shifts or jarring noises, you feel a gentle compulsion to open your eyes. It is not an awakening born of necessity, but simply a quiet transition from one state of rest to another. Your eyelids flutter softly, the lashes brushing against each other, before parting to reveal the familiar, amber-tinted twilight of the observation room. The instrument panels are exactly as you left them, a vast, complex mosaic of glowing dials, slow-moving needles, and softly blinking indicator lamps. The pale green arm of the radar screen continues its endless, hypnotic sweep, casting a rhythmic, washing light across the polished linoleum floor. It is deeply reassuring to find that nothing has changed, that the world inside this room remains perfectly constant and utterly reliable. You let out a long, slow sigh, the sound blending seamlessly with the breathy shushing of the magnetic tape reels in the center of the room. SHHH, SHHH, SHHH. The tapes spin on their large black plastic hubs, recording the endless, quiet data of the night sky. You feel a faint, cool draft brush against your forehead, a gentle exhalation from the silent ventilation system above. It carries the familiar, comforting sense of the station: warm dust, heated metal, dry paper, and the incredibly subtle, sweet aroma of the machine oil that keeps everything running with frictionless grace. You breathe it in slowly, feeling the cool air travel down into your lungs, waking your senses just enough to appreciate the profound solitude of your environment. With a slow, deliberate effort, you begin to stir. You press your palms flat against the wide, padded armrests of the chair. The leather is cool and smooth under your hands, having absorbed the ambient temperature of the room during your deep rest. You push yourself upward, the old springs beneath the cushion releasing with a soft, drawn-out sigh. You stand up, feeling the heavy, comfortable weight of gravity pulling you down against the floor. Your legs feel incredibly solid, entirely relaxed but perfectly capable of supporting you. You take a moment to just stand there, stretching your spine, rolling your shoulders back, and feeling the thick, woolen fibers of your sweater shift against your arms. You decide to leave the main observation room for a while, to explore the other quiet, empty spaces of the facility. You turn away from the glowing consoles and begin to walk toward the main corridor. Your footsteps are slow and measured, a gentle, rhythmic tapping that is quickly absorbed by the heavy acoustic tiles on the ceiling. You reach the heavy oak door, the brass handle gleaming softly in the dim light. You wrap your hand around it, feeling the solid, heavy metal, and press the latch. It clicks with a deep, mechanical precision, and you pull the door open. The corridor stretches out before you, a long, straight tunnel of pale gray concrete illuminated by the soft, warm pools of light from the frosted glass fixtures on the ceiling. You step out of the observation room and let the heavy door swing shut behind you. It closes with a solid, definitive thud, sealing the humming computers and glowing screens inside. The corridor is even quieter than the room you just left. The air here is completely still, holding a profound, heavy silence that seems to press gently against your eardrums. You begin to walk down the hallway, tracing the perfectly straight line of the linoleum floor. The walls are bare, painted a soothing, institutional gray that reflects the overhead lights in soft, hazy patches. You trail your fingertips along the concrete as you walk, feeling the slight, microscopic roughness of the painted surface. It is a deeply grounding sensation, a physical connection to the massive, unyielding structure that surrounds you. Halfway down the corridor, you come to a set of double doors, painted a soft, muted green. These doors lead to the station's mess hall and recreation area. You push them open, the well-oiled hinges moving in complete silence. The mess hall is a large, rectangular room, currently bathed in the pale, silver light of the moon streaming through a row of high, reinforced windows along the far wall. The overhead lights are turned off, leaving the space in a beautiful, quiet state of monochrome shadow. You step inside, your eyes quickly adjusting to the dimness. The floor here is covered in heavy, dark green linoleum tiles, polished to a dull shine that perfectly mirrors the rectangular patches of moonlight. You walk slowly into the center of the room, surrounded by rows of long, sturdy wooden tables and simple, heavy-duty metal chairs. The chairs are all pushed neatly under the tables, perfectly aligned in silent, orderly rows. The room smells faintly of cold metal, industrial cleaning wax, and the lingering, ghostly aroma of baked bread and roasted coffee from meals served hours, or perhaps days ago. It is a nostalgic, comforting scent, a reminder that this vast, empty space is also a place of human habitation and care. You walk over to one of the long tables and run your hand along the smooth, polished surface of the wood. It is cool to the touch, worn soft by the friction of countless plates and resting arms. At the far end of the mess hall is the kitchen area, separated by a long, stainless steel serving counter. The metal gleams in the moonlight, a cold, pristine surface that speaks of order and cleanliness. Behind the counter, a bank of massive, industrial refrigerators hums with a low, powerful vibration. It is a deeper, more resonant sound than the computer mainframes, a steady, domestic thrum that fills the back of the room. You walk over to the counter and lean against it, crossing your arms over your chest. You look out over the empty tables, watching the moonlight slowly shift across the floor as the earth turns. The absolute emptiness of the room is not lonely. It is expansive, offering you a vast, quiet space to simply exist without expectation or demand. Adjacent to the mess hall, separated by a wide archway, is the library and recreation lounge. You push away from the stainless steel counter and walk slowly through the archway, your footsteps soft against the floor. This room is designed for comfort, a soft contrast to the hard edges of the observation deck and the kitchen. The floor is covered in a thick, wall-to-wall carpet in a deep shade of burgundy, absorbing all sound and making your steps feel wonderfully heavy and luxurious. The moonlight reaches this room only indirectly, casting long, soft shadows across the deep, leather armchairs and heavy wooden bookshelves that line the walls. You walk over to a large, freestanding globe sitting in a polished brass cradle in the corner of the room. You reach out and place your hand on the smooth, curved surface of the earth. You give it a very gentle push. The globe spins silently on its axis, a slow, effortless rotation. You watch the faded, pastel colors of the continents drift past your fingers, pale greens, dusty yellows, and muted pinks, surrounded by the vast, pale blue of the oceans. It is a beautiful, archaic representation of the world, completely devoid of borders or conflicts, showing only the quiet, geological reality of the land and the sea. You let your hand rest against the spinning surface, applying just enough friction to slowly bring it to a halt. The world stops under your palm, completely still, perfectly contained. Next to the globe sits a large, wooden console housing a high-fidelity record player and a vacuum tube amplifier. The warm, amber glow of the tube spills out through a small grill on the front of the cabinet, adding a tiny pool of light to the shadowed room. You run your fingers over the stack of vinyl records resting beside the turntable. The cardboard sleeves are worn and soft at the edges. You slide one out, feeling the familiar circular ridge of the vinyl through the cover. You don't play it. The silence of the room is already a perfect symphony. You just hold the record in your hands for a moment, appreciating the heavy, solid feel of it, before carefully sliding it back into its exact place in the stack. In the center of the recreation lounge is a full-sized billiard table, covered in a heavy, protective drop cloth. You walk over to it and gently pull back one corner of the cloth, revealing the deep emerald green felt beneath. You reach out and stroke the felt. It is incredibly soft, a dense, pristine surface that begs to be touched. You trace the line of the cushion, feeling the solid, unyielding rubber hidden beneath the soft fabric. You find a single, chalky white cue ball resting in the pocket. You pick it up, feeling its perfect, heavy spherical weight in the palm of your hand. It is cold and completely smooth. You roll it slowly between your hands, a small, mindless, tactile motion that focuses your attention entirely on the physical sensation. You place the cue ball back into the pocket and carefully fold the drop cloth back over the corner of the table, smoothing out the wrinkles with the flat of your hand. Everything must remain in its perfect, resting state. You turn away from the table and look at the rows of bookshelves. The books are mostly technical manuals, encyclopedias, and classic literature bound in heavy cloth. You walk along the shelves, breathing in the dry, papery scent, a smell that perfectly complements the faint aroma of the vacuum tubes in the deep burgundy carpet. You pull a thick volume from the shelf at random. The spine creaks slightly as you open it. The pages are thick, off-white, and covered in neat, dense columns of text. You don't read the words. You just look at the shapes of the paragraphs, the beautiful, orderly arrangement of ink on paper. You close the book and slide it back into its slot. The soft thud of the pages compressing is a satisfying final sound. You stand in the center of the library, surrounded by the deep shadows, the thick carpet, and the quiet analog history of the station. You feel a profound sense of temporal displacement. You could be in the 1950s or the 1960s, or entirely outside of time altogether. The outside world, with its rushing clocks and changing seasons, has no jurisdiction here. In this room, it is always a quiet, comfortable midnight. You take a slow, deep breath, letting the heavy, luxurious air fill your lungs, and then release it in a long, relaxing sigh. Your shoulders drop, the tension melting away into the floor. You slowly walk back through the archway, leaving the soft carpet of the lounge for the smooth linoleum of the mess hall. The moonlight has shifted slightly, the silver rectangles on the floor elongating as the moon begins its slow descent toward the horizon. You pass the humming refrigerators, the long, empty tables, and push through the green double doors, stepping back into the quiet, gray corridor. The bright, frosted lights of the hallway feel slightly warmer now after the shadows of the recreation rooms. You turn and begin the slow walk back toward the observation deck. Your mind is completely clear, washed clean by the simple sensory experiences of your walk. The smooth wood, the cold metal, the spinning globe, the soft felt. They have grounded you entirely in the physical present. You walk with a slow, swaying rhythm, your arms swinging loosely at your sides. You pass several closed doors along the corridor, supply closets, mechanical rooms, dormant sleeping quarters. Each door is identical, painted gray, locked tight, hiding its own perfect, silent darkness. You do not wonder what is behind them. You simply appreciate their solid, closed presence, their contribution to the overall structure of safety and order that defines the facility. You reach the heavy oak door of the observation room. You place your hand on the brass handle, the metal now holding the ambient warmth of the corridor. You press the latch, the satisfying mechanical click echoing briefly in the hall, and push the door open. You are instantly greeted by the familiar, breathy shushing of the tape reels and the low, comforting hum of the mainframes. The amber lights of the console wash over you, a warm, welcoming embrace. You step inside, allowing the heavy door to swing shut and seal behind you. You are back in the nerve center, the quiet heart of the mountain. You walk slowly back to your desk, passing the tall, glass-fronted cabinets. The tape reels spin on, completely indifferent to your absence. SHHH, SHHH, SHHH. You run your hand lightly over the cool metal casing of the weather simulation module. The pale lavender and soft amber lines continue their slow, endless swirl across the dark screen, a beautiful, abstract portrait of the sleeping atmosphere. You reach your heavy leather armchair and place your hands on the backrest. You don't sit down immediately. Instead, you walk around the desk and stand directly in front of the large, reinforced observation window. The night sky outside has changed subtly while you were exploring. The moon is much lower now, casting long, dramatic shadows across the snowdrifts. The pale light illuminates the fine, swirling mist of ice crystals being carried by the wind. The wind itself remains a low, muffled whoosh against the thick glass, a sound that only emphasizes the profound silence and warmth of the room. As the moon sets, the stars above seem to grow brighter, harder, and more piercing. The deep indigo of the sky is transitioning into a pure, absolute black, a perfect canvas for the millions of tiny, freezing pinpricks of light. You lean your forehead against the cold glass, feeling the tiny chill radiate through the pane, and simply watch the stars. They do not blink, they do not waver. They are entirely static, entirely peaceful. You look down at the delicate, creeping frost forming along the edges of the window frame. The icy ferns have grown slightly, reaching further across the glass in incredibly slow, geometric patterns. It is a microscopic forest of frozen water, beautiful and intricate. You trace the outline of one of the ice crystals with your finger, following its sharp, delicate branches on your side of the glass. The air in the room is perfectly dry, perfectly warm, allowing the frost to exist only on the extreme edge of the barrier. It is a visual representation of the perfect balance maintained by the station. The cold kept strictly on the outside, the warmth held safely on the inside. With a slow, deep breath, you push yourself away from the window. You walk around the heavy steel desk and lower yourself back into the worn leather armchair. The chair welcomes you, the cushions molding instantly to the shape of your body. You feel the deep, resonant vibration of the floor traveling up through the chair legs, a comforting mechanical purr that relaxes your muscles. You look at the green ceramic mug on the cork coaster. The chamomile tea is completely cold now. You reach out and pick it up, cradling the cool ceramic in your hands. You don't drink it, you just hold it, appreciating its weight and solid shape. You set the mug down gently and turn your attention to the barograph resting on its small wooden table to your left. The brass drum continues its microscopic, silent rotation. The delicate stylus traces its endless line of blue ink across the grid paper. You watch it for a long, quiet moment. The line is still perfectly flat, a visual confirmation that the atmosphere outside remains entirely stable, entirely calm. There are no sudden drops in pressure, no approaching storms. The night is holding its breath, and the machinery is faithfully recording the silence. You let your eyes drift across the main console. The amber and green dials glow softly in the dimness. You reach out and gently flip one of the heavy black toggle switches. It controls the illumination of a secondary instrument panel. The switch moves with a solid, heavy thud, and a row of small, pale white bulbs dims to a soft, barely visible glow. The room feels instantly cozier, the shadows stretching a fraction further into the corners. You reach for another switch, slowly lowering the brightness of the radar screen. The pale green sweep becomes softer, less distinct, a ghostly wash of light rather than a sharp beam. You are deliberately, slowly putting the room to sleep. You turn the brass knob on your desk lamp, turning it off completely. The warm, golden pool of light vanishes, leaving only the ambient glow of the consoles. The darkness feels heavy and luxurious, wrapping around you like a thick woolen blanket. The sounds of the room seem to swell in the lower light. The shushing of the tapes, the low hum of the generators, the sweeping whisper of the radar. They all blend into a single, continuous drone, a mechanical mantra that clears your mind of all remaining thoughts. You lean your head back against the padded leather headrest. You roll your neck slightly from side to side, feeling the muscles stretch and release. Your arms feel incredibly heavy, resting entirely limp on the armrests. Your legs are deeply relaxed, stretched out beneath the metal desk. You feel a wave of profound, irresistible sleepiness wash over you, starting from the top of your head and flowing slowly down to your fingertips and toes. It is a comfortable, welcoming heaviness. The kind of tiredness that comes not from exhaustion, but from absolute safety and profound peace. You allow your eyes to close completely. The soft afterimages of the dials float in the warm darkness behind your eyelids for a moment before slowly fading into nothing. The physical sensation of the room fades away, leaving only the gentle, rhythmic sounds. You focus entirely on the rise and fall of your chest. Inhale, slow and deep. Exhale, long and releasing. Your breathing matches the continuous, sweeping rhythm of the station. You are no longer just an observer. You are a part of the quiet, humming machinery of the night. You are floating on a slow, endless current of time, drifting deeper and deeper into the warm, heavy, welcoming embrace of absolute rest. The heavy, velvet darkness of your closed eyes is a sanctuary of absolute peace. You drift in this warm, insulated space for an expanse of time that simply does not matter. The concept of hours and minutes dissolves entirely, replaced by the slow, continuous, breathy rhythm of the observation station. The hum of the mainframes and the low vibration of the generators merge into a single, cohesive blanket of sound that wraps around your weary mind. You feel the deep, comforting gravity pulling you down into the worn leather of the armchair, every muscle in your body surrendering its remaining tension to the solid, unyielding support beneath you. Your breathing is a slow, tidal pull, drawing the perfectly conditioned, slightly warm air deep into your lungs, and releasing it with a heavy, relaxed sigh that barely makes a sound. You are a quiet, unmoving center of calm within the humming heart of the mountain. As you rest, the subtle changes in the room's atmosphere register on your senses without ever disturbing your peace. The faint, sweet smell of the heated vacuum tubes mingles with the dry, papery scent of the logbooks, creating a deeply nostalgic aroma that smells like safety and old, reliable knowledge. The ventilation system breathes out a slow, steady current of warmth that brushes against your forehead and the backs of your hands, a gentle, invisible touch that keeps the chill of the winter night entirely at bay. You feel the heavy, comforting weight of your woolen sweater, the thick fibers holding your body heat close, wrapping you in a soft, heathered gray cocoon. Your legs, stretched out beneath the heavy steel desk, feel perfectly relaxed, the heavy rubber soles of your boots resting flat against the linoleum floor, absorbing the microscopic, endless vibration of the station's immense power source. Very slowly, the desire to open your eyes returns, not out of any necessity or alarm, but simply a gentle transition back to quiet observation. Your eyelids feel incredibly heavy, as if weighted with warm sand, and they part just a fraction to let the ambient light back in. The observation room has shifted into an even deeper state of twilight. With the moon having finally slipped below the jagged horizon of the mountain range outside, the only light coming through the thick, reinforced glass is the cold, distant prickle of a billion stars. The silver rectangles on the floor have vanished, leaving the room bathed entirely in the warm, banked coal glow of the instrument panels. The amber and pale green dials seem to burn with a slightly richer, softer hue in the absence of the moonlight, casting long, deeply soothing shadows that stretch across the far walls and into the corners of the room. You do not move immediately. You simply sit there in the heavy chair, letting your eyes adjust to the darker, warmer environment. The pale green arm of the radar screen continues its endless, sweeping circle, a silent, glowing sentinel wiping the dark glass clean with every rotation. You watch the light from the screen wash softly over the edge of your metal desk, highlighting the faint, brushed texture of the steel. Your gaze drifts slowly to the cork coaster where your empty, green ceramic mug rests. The rough, organic texture of the cork is a beautiful, quiet contrast to the smooth, manufactured perfection of the desk and the machinery. You reach out your hand, your arm feeling heavy and wonderfully languid, and let your fingertips rest lightly against the edge of the coaster. You simply feel the material, grounding yourself in the tiny, tactile details of your immediate surroundings. With a slow, deep breath that fills your chest, you finally push yourself up from the depths of the armchair. The leather gives a long, drawn-out sigh as it releases you, a sound of perfect, worn-in comfort. You stand beside the desk, feeling the solid, unshakable floor beneath your boots. You roll your shoulders slowly, feeling the muscles stretch and settle, and decide to take a quiet walk to a small, secondary maintenance alcove tucked away behind the mainframes. You move with a slow, swaying grace, your footsteps falling in a soft, muffled rhythm against the floor. You pass the tall, glass-fronted cabinets, the magnetic tapes continuing their breathy, endless shushing. SHHH, SHHH, SHHH. You drag your hand lightly along the smooth metal casing of the cabinets, feeling the faint, high-frequency vibration of the data processing within. You step around the back of the mainframes, entering a narrow space illuminated only by a single, low-wattage bulb enclosed in a wire cage. The light here is a deep, warm sepia, casting intricate, crisscrossing shadows over the walls. This alcove houses the manual override valves for the station's deep-earth geothermal heating system. The valves are massive, cast-iron wheels painted a dark, industrial red, mounted onto thick steel pipes that vanish into the concrete floor. They are beautiful, heavy pieces of machinery, requiring immense physical effort to turn, but tonight they sit perfectly still, locked into their optimal positions. You stand before the largest of the wheels, admiring the solid, unapologetic function of its design. The air back here is slightly warmer, carrying a faint, clean smell of hot metal and pipe sealant. Next to the valve sits a small, heavy wooden workbench, scarred and stained by years of quiet, meticulous repairs. A neat row of heavy wrenches and specialized tools hangs on a pegboard above the bench, each tool resting exactly in its outlined silhouette. You walk over to the bench and notice a small, brass fitting resting on a clean, white cotton rag. It is a replacement part for one of the barograph sensors, machined to an incredible level of precision. The brass is slightly tarnished, showing the dull, uneven patina of exposure to the air. Next to the rag sits a small tin of polishing compound. You reach out and pick up the tin, popping the lid off with a soft, metallic click. The compound smells sharp and clean, a purposeful, industrial scent that cuts through the warm air of the alcove. You pick up the white cotton rag and wrap it around your index finger, dipping it lightly into the pale paste. You pick up the heavy brass fitting with your other hand, feeling its cold, solid weight. You begin to rub the paste into the metal using small, slow, circular motions. The repetitive physical action is instantly, profoundly soothing. Rub, circle, press. Rub, circle, press. You watch the dull patina slowly give way to a bright, mirror-like shine beneath your fingertips. You are in no rush. There is nowhere else you need to be. No other task that demands your attention. You are completely absorbed in the simple, quiet act of polishing the brass, restoring it to its original, gleaming perfection. The only sound in the alcove is the soft, rhythmic squeak of the cotton rag against the metal, a tiny, private sound in the vast, humming silence of the station. As you polish, you let your mind empty completely. The repetitive motion acts as an anchor, holding your awareness perfectly still in the present moment. You feel the slight friction warming the brass in your hand. You watch the reflection of the sepia light catch the freshly polished curves of the fitting. The metal becomes a tiny, golden mirror, reflecting the quiet order of the workbench and the heavy, red valves behind you. When the entire piece is gleaming, you wipe away the remaining residue with a clean corner of the rag. You set the fitting down on the bench. It looks beautiful, a perfect, gleaming component ready to serve its quiet purpose. You fold the rag neatly. Place it next to the tin of polish, and press the lid back onto the tin with a satisfying snap. You turn away from the workbench, wiping your hands slowly against the sides of your thick canvas trousers. You walk back out of the warm, sepia-toned alcove and re-enter the main observation room. The space feels incredibly open and vast after the tight confines of the maintenance area. The amber and green lights of the consoles welcome you back, glowing softly in the deep, starlit twilight. You walk toward the large observation window, your steps slow and unhurried. The room feels as though it is holding its breath, resting in the absolute deepest, quietest part of the night. The hours before dawn, when the world is entirely asleep and even the wind seems to have settled into a frozen slumber. You step up to the thick glass and look out into the darkness. Without the moon, the snow is no longer a glowing silver ocean, but a vast, shadowy expanse, its contours visible only by the faint starlight reflecting off the ice crystals. The stars themselves are magnificent. They fill the deep indigo sky, a brilliant, scattered diamond dust that seems to burn with a cold, fierce intensity. You can see the faint, cloudy band of the Milky Way stretching across the horizon, a slow, majestic river of light pouring through the darkness. You rest your forehead against the cold glass, feeling the chill radiate into your skin, a tiny, refreshing reminder of the massive, freezing wilderness that surrounds your warm, safe sanctuary. You look down at the bottom edge of the window frame. The delicate, intricate ferns of frost have grown even further while you were away, their geometric patterns creeping slowly up the glass. They catch the faint starlight, glowing like microscopic crystalline forests. You trace the edge of the frost line with your eye, marveling at the slow, silent beauty of the freezing water. The station's internal heating pushes back against the cold, creating this perfect, frozen border between the warmth of the room and the absolute zero of the night. You feel a profound sense of isolation, but it is a deeply comforting, secure isolation. You are a tiny, warm spark of life suspended in a vast, silent universe, protected by thick walls of concrete and the quiet, steady hum of machinery. With a slow, heavy sigh, you push yourself away from the glass. The cold air dissipates instantly as you step back into the ambient warmth of the room. You walk around the heavy steel desk and lower yourself back into your worn leather armchair. The leather creaks softly, a familiar, welcoming sound as the cushions absorb your weight. You slide your hands along the smooth armrests, resting them near the ends, your fingers curling loosely. You lean your head back against the padded rest, finding the perfect indentation that perfectly supports your neck. You let your legs stretch out, your boots finding the warm, gentle draft from the floor vent. You are completely, perfectly settled, wrapped once again in your comfortable command post. You turn your head slowly to look at the large, analog wall clock. The red second hand continues its smooth, silent, endless sweep around the dial. It does not tick, it glides, a continuous motion that represents the slow, unbroken flow of time in this place. The minute hand has barely moved since you last looked. Time is a gentle, vast ocean here, and you are simply floating on its surface, unhurried and entirely at peace. You watch the second hand make 3 full, slow rotations, letting the circular motion lull your thoughts into a quiet, rhythmic pattern. Around and around, smooth and silent, marking the passage of a night where absolutely nothing is expected to change. Your gaze drifts back down to the main console. The heavy, black toggle switches, the knurled brass knobs, the pale, glowing dials. They are a familiar, comforting landscape. You reach out your left hand and gently rest your fingertips against the cool glass of the barometric pressure gauge. The tiny black needle is perfectly still, resting exactly on the center line. You feel the faint, continuous vibration of the console through the glass, a tiny pulse of electricity and purposeful engineering. You trace the circular brass bezel of the gauge with your thumb, feeling the cool, smooth metal. The tactile sensation is incredibly grounding, focusing your mind entirely on the small, immediate reality of the instruments before you. The rhythmic, breathy shushing of the tape reels in the center of the room draws your attention. You turn your chair slightly to face the tall, glass-fronted cabinets. The massive black reels spin with flawless, hypnotic precision, the thick brown magnetic tape looping gracefully through the tension arms. SHHH, SHHH, SHHH. You watch the arc of the tape rise and fall, a continuous, mechanical respiration. You let your own breathing fall perfectly into sync with the sound. You draw the warm air into your lungs as the tape pulls tight, and you release it in a long, slow exhale as the tape loops down. Inhale, exhale. Tight, slack. You are breathing with the room, becoming a quiet, synchronized part of the station's gentle, endless rhythm. You feel the heavy, comfortable wave of sleepiness returning, thicker and more profound than before. The physical act of polishing the brass, the cold touch of the window, and the deep, repetitive sounds of the room have all combined to push your mind toward a state of complete, peaceful exhaustion. Your eyelids flutter, the effort of keeping them open feeling like a monumental, unnecessary task. The amber and green lights of the console begin to blur, losing their sharp edges and stretching into soft, glowing bands of warm color. You let your head sink deeper into the leather, your jaw relaxing, your shoulders dropping a fraction of an inch further. The tension drains from your body like water flowing slowly down a drain, leaving you feeling entirely weightless, entirely at rest. You close your eyes, shutting out the glowing dials and the sweeping radar. The darkness behind your eyelids is a thick, warm blanket, infinitely deep and infinitely comforting. The sounds of the room seem to swell, filling the darkness with their continuous mechanical lullaby. The low, subsonic thrum of the floor, the sweeping whisper of the radar arm, the endless, breathy shushing of the tape reels. They wrap around you, a cocoon of safe, predictable sound that completely isolates you from the vast, frozen silence of the mountains outside. You feel the gentle vibration of the generators humming through the leather of your chair, a slow, deep massage that reaches into your very bones, relaxing the last remaining knots of tension in your spine. You are drifting now, suspended in the deep, quiet hours of the night shift. Your mind wanders away from the console, out through the thick concrete walls and into the dark, sleeping forest. You imagine the ancient pine trees standing perfectly still, their branches bowed under the heavy weight of the snow. You imagine the deep, undisturbed drifts, glowing faintly under the starlight. You imagine the absolute, freezing silence of the wilderness, a silence so profound it has a physical weight. You feel a deep, resonant connection to that silence, a profound sense of harmony with the sleeping earth. The observation station is a tiny, warm bubble of life within that frozen stillness, keeping a quiet, unobtrusive watch over the natural world, recording its peaceful slumber. You feel yourself sinking deeper and deeper into the armchair, the boundary between your body and the worn leather becoming impossible to distinguish. Your hands, resting loosely on your lap, feel heavy and completely immobile. Your breathing is shallow and incredibly slow, barely moving your chest. You are resting on the very edge of deep sleep, balanced perfectly on the precipice of unconsciousness, held safely in place by the gentle, continuous hum of the room. The air vent above you sighs softly, sending another gentle wave of warm air over your face. You let out one final, long breath, releasing the very last, tiny fragment of your waking awareness, and surrender entirely to the heavy, welcoming quiet. The heavy, enveloping darkness of your rest is not an empty void, but a rich, textured sanctuary. It is a space where the edges of the physical world soften and dissolve, leaving only the slow, rhythmic cadence of your own breathing and the continuous, comforting pulse of the observation station. You are suspended in a state of perfect, weightless equilibrium, hovering gently on the border between deep sleep and quiet awareness. The passage of time holds absolutely no meaning here. Hours could have slipped by, or perhaps only a few peaceful minutes. The station's low, subsonic hum vibrates through the thick leather of your armchair, traveling up through your spine and relaxing every nerve, every fiber of your being. It is a mechanical lullaby, a constant, unwavering assurance that the thick concrete walls are standing strong, that the heaters are burning steadily, and that the freezing winter night is safely locked outside. Slowly, as if rising through layers of warm, heavy water, a faint sensation of the waking world begins to return to you. It does not pull you abruptly from your rest, but rather invites you to simply transition from one form of quiet observation to another. You feel the slow, steady rise and fall of your chest, the comfortable weight of the woolen sweater against your skin. The air in the room is a perfect, insulated temperature, wrapping around your face and your hands like a soft, invisible blanket. You hear the breathy, continuous shushing of the magnetic tape reels across the room, a sound so deeply ingrained in your mind that it feels like the natural respiration of the building itself. SHHH, SHHH, SHHH. It is a sound of perfect, rhythmic order, a promise that all the silent data of the night is being carefully, meticulously gathered and stored. You allow your eyelids to drift open, a movement so slow and effortless it requires no conscious thought. The familiar, amber-tinted twilight of the observation deck greets you, glowing with the soft, banked warmth of a dying fire. The instrument panels stretch out before you, their dozens of small, round dials and pale green indicator lamps casting long, soothing shadows across the polished linoleum floor. The radar screen continues its endless, hypnotic sweep, the pale green arm wiping the dark glass clean with every slow rotation. You do not move your body just yet. You simply sit there, completely relaxed, letting your eyes wander lazily over the glowing mosaic of the consoles. Everything is exactly as you left it. The needles on the gauges rest perfectly still. The heavy, black toggle switches remain locked in their proper positions. The room is a masterpiece of contained, peaceful stillness. With a deep, luxurious sigh that fills your lungs with clean, warm air, you gently press your palms against the wide armrests of the chair. The worn leather is cool and smooth, offering a solid, comforting resistance as you slowly push yourself upward. The springs deep within the cushion release with a soft, familiar creak, a deeply domestic sound that echoes quietly in the industrial space. You stand up, feeling the heavy, grounding pull of gravity settle into your legs. Your boots rest flat against the floor, instantly absorbing the deep, resonant vibration of the generators buried in the bedrock below. You stretch your arms slowly above your head, feeling the thick knit of your sweater shift and settle across your shoulders, releasing any tiny, lingering pockets of tension in your muscles. You decide to take a slow, unhurried walk to a section of the station you have not visited yet tonight, the cartography and charting room. It is a small, specialized space located just off the main observation deck, accessible through a narrow, open archway near the back of the room. You move with a slow, swaying grace, your footsteps falling in a soft, muffled rhythm. Heel toe, heel toe. The sound is entirely swallowed by the heavy acoustic tiles covering the ceiling. You trail your hand lightly along the edge of the tall, glass-fronted mainframe cabinets as you pass, feeling the faint, high-frequency hum of the processors vibrating against your fingertips. You are not walking to accomplish a task. You are simply moving for the quiet, sensory joy of moving through the safe, warm space. You step through the archway and into the cartography room. The lighting here is different, designed for careful visual work. Instead of the amber glow of the consoles, the room is illuminated by a row of wide, drafting lamps suspended from the ceiling, casting broad pools of clean, warm white light over a series of massive, angled wooden tables. The air in this room smells distinctly of old paper, binding glue, dry graphite, and the faint, sweet scent of the large, rolled vellum maps stored in the wooden cubbies lining the walls. It is the scent of deep, quiet focus, of a place where the vast, chaotic world is carefully measured, drawn, and understood in perfect, silent detail. You walk over to the largest of the drafting tables, situated directly beneath the warmest pool of light. The surface of the table is covered in a thick, self-healing cutting mat, worn smooth by years of use. Resting in the center of the mat is a massive, beautifully detailed topographical map of the entire mountain range, printed on heavy, cream-colored paper. You lean over the table, resting your hands flat against the cool, smooth surface of the mat, and let your eyes trace the intricate web of contour lines. The lines swirl and curve, densely packed around the high peaks and spreading out into wide, gentle arcs in the valleys. It is a stunning, abstract portrait of the Earth's surface, rendered entirely in soft, faded shades of brown, green, and pale gray. Next to the map sits a heavy, brass parallel ruler and a set of polished steel drafting compasses inside a velvet-lined wooden case. You reach out and pick up the brass ruler. It is incredibly heavy, the cold metal feeling solid and purposeful in your hand. The brass has tarnished slightly over the years, taking on a dull, comforting golden hue. You place the ruler gently onto the surface of the map, aligning its edge with one of the thin, straight grid lines that divide the region into perfect, manageable squares. The ruler makes a soft, solid thud against the paper. You slowly roll the cylindrical brass grips, watching the two parallel bars glide smoothly apart with flawless mechanical precision. It is a tiny, perfect movement, a demonstration of absolute frictionless order. You let go of the ruler and pick up one of the compasses from the velvet case. The steel is cold and incredibly bright, reflecting the warm light of the drafting lamps. You hold it delicately between your thumb and forefinger, feeling the sharp, precise point of the needle and the smooth, heavy weight of the hinge. You do not use it to draw. You simply hold it, admiring the perfect symmetry of its design. It is a tool meant for finding the exact center of things, for measuring perfect circles and establishing unyielding boundaries. You carefully place the compass back into its velvet-lined indentation, closing the wooden lid of the case with a soft, satisfying click. You walk slowly around the edge of the drafting table, running your fingertips lightly over the edge of the heavy map paper. The texture is slightly rough, a heavy, fibrous stock that feels permanent and enduring. You look up from the table and notice a row of narrow, horizontal drawers built into the wall. These are flat files, designed to hold the largest, most delicate charts. You reach out and grasp the wide, brushed aluminum handle of the top drawer. The metal is cool and smooth. You pull gently, and the wide drawer glides outward on its precision ball-bearing tracks, emitting a low, continuous, and deeply satisfying hum. Inside the drawer, beneath a protective sheet of tissue paper, lies a series of hand-drawn meteorological charts from decades past. The ink is a faded, soft sepia, the sweeping lines of the high and low-pressure systems drawn with a steady, masterful hand. You gently lift the edge of the tissue paper, listening to its dry, crisp rustle. It sounds like dry autumn leaves blowing across a quiet street. You look at the old charts, marveling at the quiet history they represent. Countless peaceful nights exactly like this one, carefully recorded and preserved in this warm, hidden archive. The air was monitored, the wind was measured, and the world was found to be completely, perfectly calm. You lower the tissue paper, letting it settle softly over the charts and slowly push the heavy drawer closed. It seals with a soft, heavy thump, a sound of perfect closure. You turn away from the flat files and step toward a small, deep-set window at the far end of the cartography room. This window faces a different direction than the large observation window on the main deck, looking out over a steep, rocky drop-off and into a vast, empty valley. You step close to the glass, resting your hands on the thick concrete sill. The sill is cool, leaching a tiny bit of the winter chill through the stone. You look out into the night. The heavy, swirling snow that had been falling earlier seems to have finally stopped. The air outside is now perfectly, crystalline clear, stripped of all moisture and dust by the freezing temperatures. Without the veil of falling snow, the valley below looks incredibly deep and vast, a massive bowl of dark, undisturbed shadows. But above the valley, the sky is a revelation. The stars are burning with a fierce, cold brilliance, completely unhindered by clouds or atmospheric haze. They are so dense, so incredibly numerous, that the sky looks less like a dark void and more like a solid ceiling of crushed diamonds. You lean your forehead against the cold glass, feeling a tiny shiver of refreshing chill, and simply stare up at the Milky Way. The band of light stretches from one horizon to the other, a slow, majestic river of stars pouring endlessly through the silent universe. You watch it for a long, quiet time, feeling profoundly small, yet entirely safe, a quiet observer hidden away in the warm heart of the earth. The absolute stillness of the sky is mirrored by the absolute stillness of the room behind you. The only sound is the low, distant hum of the mainframes and the soft, steady rhythm of your own breathing. You watch a single, faint shooting star streak across the edge of your vision, a tiny, fleeting scratch of light that vanishes almost instantly. It is the only movement in the entire, vast landscape. You let out a long, slow breath, watching a tiny circle of condensation bloom on the cold glass before slowly fading away, drawn back into the dry, warm air of the room. You push yourself away from the sill, leaving the stunning, freezing beauty of the night behind, and turn back toward the warm light of the drafting tables. You walk slowly back through the cartography room, your footsteps a soft, rhythmic cadence on the linoleum. You step through the archway and return to the main observation deck. The amber and green lights welcome you, glowing with their familiar banked warmth. The room feels incredibly cozy and secure, a perfect insulated capsule suspended in the freezing wilderness. You walk past the tall cabinets, the tape reels shushing softly. SHHH, SHHH, SHHH. You drag your hand along the smooth metal edge of the main console, feeling the tiny, comforting vibration of the machinery. You decide to make a slow, methodical check of the station's secondary power banks, located in a long, narrow room behind the main observation wall. It is a routine task, entirely unnecessary given the flawless operation of the primary generators, but the quiet ritual of checking the dials is deeply soothing. You walk to a heavy, gray steel door at the end of the console bank. The door has a large, industrial lever handle. You press down on the lever. It is heavy and stiff, requiring a firm, steady pressure. The latch disengages with a loud, satisfying mechanical clack, and you pull the heavy door open. You step into the battery room. The air here is noticeably cooler than the observation deck, and it carries a sharp, clean scent of ozone, distilled water, and cold, painted steel. The room is long and narrow, illuminated by a single row of caged, low-wattage bulbs that cast a continuous, warm yellow light down the center aisle. On either side of the aisle are massive, multi-tiered steel racks, holding hundreds of heavy, glass-cased deep-cycle batteries. They are the station's ultimate fail-safe, a silent, massive reservoir of power waiting patiently in the dark. You walk slowly down the aisle, your boots clicking softly against the painted concrete floor. You look at the side of the glass casings, seeing the perfectly level lines of the clear electrolyte fluid inside. Attached to the front of each rack is a small, analog voltage meter. The meters are identical, with pale white faces and thin black needles. As you walk, you let your eyes sweep over the meters. Every single needle is resting exactly on the green indicator line, perfectly still, perfectly charged. The visual repetition of the identical, perfect readings is incredibly calming. It is a physical manifestation of total readiness, of a system entirely at peace with its own power. You reach the end of the aisle, where a larger master control panel sits. It features a row of heavy green indicator lamps, each one glowing with a steady, unwavering light. You reach out and gently rest your fingertips against the warm glass of one of the green bulbs. You can feel the tiny, continuous pulse of electricity passing through the filament. It is a tiny, localized heat source in the cool air of the room. You trace the smooth, domed shape of the glass with your thumb, feeling the solid metal bezel that holds it in place. You stand there for a long time, bathed in the steady green light, listening to the absolute, heavy silence of the battery room. There are no moving parts here, no spinning tapes or sweeping radar arms. Just the silent, massive potential of stored energy, waiting perfectly still. With a slow, deep breath, you turn around and walk back down the long aisle. The rows of batteries slide past you, a perfect, orderly regimen of glass and steel. You reach the heavy gray door, push it open, and step back into the warm, humming atmosphere of the observation deck. The amber lights feel incredibly welcoming, the continuous sounds of the mainframes rushing back to fill your ears. You let the steel door close behind you. It shuts with a heavy, definitive thud, sealing the cool, silent battery room away. You walk back toward your heavy, steel desk, your movements languid and entirely relaxed. You pass the weather simulation screen. The pale lavender and soft amber lines have settled into a massive, nearly motionless pool over the entire continent. The weather is completely stagnant, a deep, pervasive high-pressure system that promises endless, clear, silent skies. You watch the colors slowly pulse and fade, a beautiful, abstract painting that requires no thought to appreciate. You reach your desk and gently pull the heavy leather armchair back. You do not sit down immediately. Instead, you look at the neat stack of pale yellow logbooks resting under the unlit desk lamp. You reach out and turn the small brass knob on the lamp. The light clicks on, casting a warm golden circle over the thick paper. You pick up the heavy silver pen, uncapping it with a soft pull. The metal is cool and smooth in your hand. You open the current logbook to the next blank line. The paper is thick and off-white with pale blue lines printed across it. You press the nib of the pen to the paper and begin to write. The ink flows smoothly, a deep, permanent blue. You write the current time, the barometric pressure, the temperature, and the wind speed. The scratching of the nib against the thick paper is a rhythmic, textured sound. Scratch, scratch, pause. Scratch, scratch, pause. The sound of the pen focuses your attention entirely on the small, immediate space illuminated by the lamp. You write slowly, making sure each letter is perfectly formed, a quiet exercise in neatness and control. When you have finished the entry, you write the word clear in the remarks column. You lift the pen, watching the wet blue ink catch the golden light of the lamp for a few seconds before drying to a matte finish. You recap the pen, place it carefully in its designated groove on the desk, and close the heavy cover of the logbook. The soft thump of the cover settling against the pages is a small, grounded sound. You reach out and turn the desk lamp off again. The warm, golden circle vanishes, plunging the desk back into the soft, amber twilight. You slowly lower yourself into the heavy leather armchair. The cushions sigh softly, welcoming your weight, molding instantly to the contours of your tired body. You slide your hands along the smooth armrests, resting them near the ends, your fingers curling loosely. You lean your head back against the padded headrest, finding the perfect, deep indentation that supports your neck so completely. You let your legs stretch out, your boots finding the familiar, gentle draft from the floor vent. The heavy, comfortable wave of sleepiness that has been hovering around the edges of your awareness now washes over you completely. The physical acts of walking to the cartography room, checking the silent battery banks, and writing the final log entry have pushed your mind to a state of complete, peaceful exhaustion. Your eyelids flutter, the effort of keeping them open feeling entirely impossible. The amber and green lights of the consoles blur and stretch, losing their sharp edges and melting into a soft, glowing mosaic of warm color. You let your jaw relax, your lips parting slightly as your breathing becomes incredibly deep and even. You close your eyes, shutting out the soft lights of the room. The darkness is immediate, heavy, and infinitely comforting. It is a thick velvet curtain that drops over your mind, completely isolating you from the waking world. The sounds of the room swell gently in your ears, wrapping around you in a continuous mechanical lullaby. The deep subsonic thrum of the floor, the sweeping whisper of the radar, the continuous breathy shushing of the tape reels. SHHH, SHHH, SHHH. They blend together into a single, cohesive sound of pure, unbroken peace. You feel the gentle vibration of the generators humming through the leather of your chair, a slow, deep massage that reaches into your bones, relaxing the very last, tiny knots of tension in your spine. You are drifting now, suspended in the deep, quiet hours of the night shift. You have checked the dials, you have walked the corridors, you have recorded the silence. There is absolutely nothing left to do but rest. The station will continue its watchful hum, the machines will spin, the stars will slowly wheel across the freezing sky outside. You are a quiet passenger on a slow, peaceful journey through time, held safely in the warm, humming heart of the mountain. You let out one final, long breath, feeling your chest fall and your muscles release entirely. You sink deeper and deeper into the heavy, welcoming quiet, completely surrendering to the profound, perfect stillness of